for that 07510 769997 07510 769997. Okay, let's start introducing now, everyone. Myself, I'm Adam Alarakia from been invited to speak to the police officers. We've got in the studio Sergeant Des Hanshaw, who is a Spinney Hill Ward Sergeant. We've got PC Mark Bailey, who is the Spinney Hill Ward Local Beat Officer. We've got DC.
Yeah, there is a national program. It's being run by the College of Policing, which is giving out a guidance and advice from a best practice level to all forces of those police services that want to and want to take up those initiatives. Then there are guidance from a College of Policing level, which is kind of the body that looks at all a number of issues and introduces best practice and guidance for police services. So they're the kind of the organisation that looks at various issues, researches them, looks at the legal perspectives, looks at the best ways, and picks up all of the ideas from police services and coordinates all of that, and then provides guidance in relation to specifically policing, to give that advice. And that's something that we have picked up on as well, following the national guidance and looking across also initiatives that have been done by other police services. So it's local level. It's not only a regional thing, but it's also a national thing as well.
Okay, for that, thank you very much. Coming to PC Mark Bailey and Sergeant Des Hanshaw, there's a couple of topics we can actually discuss. One of the topics which I was personally thinking of discussing was with regards to the youth in our community. Personally, I've been working with youth for over 10 years now. I've set up this organization called Leicester Youth Association back in 2012. Very slow progress, but we've set up a football team. We've got a few activities here and there. So with regards to the youth, which a lot of times you hear this time and again in media, on the streets as well, you hear people talk about the community, that the youth they need something which is there to actually, for them to actually in a way fall back to, or something to entertain them. What's your view on that? The reason I ask this question is we as a whole community, and that belong the community. When I say community, I don't only mean Muslim community, I mean all the communities in Leicestershire. I believe that we don't have any methods or anything for our community youth, young people, which bearing in mind the religious freedom, the religious practices, respecting all that, with regards to accommodating each community. What is your view on that with regards to having a facility or facilities, which we hear this time, this centre was closed due to lack of budget. What's your view as the police officers, and how go with this? What's the way forward in this? So anyone, on Mark or PC does.
Okay, well, I'll kick off. I mean, you're quite right. I mean, facilities for young people is vitally important for us in the police, into making sure that we can try and divert people from antisocial behaviour, or sort of minor criminality, to try and stop that sort of that sort of way or path, and that the on that is the best thing for us to try and reach the effects it has on the community. You're quite right. We have got issues in relation to funding locally, and we know that City Council are struggling with their budget, which makes it very difficult in relation to what's available locally in the community. We obviously do support anyone try and do local youth events. We want to try and engage with those people to try and support them and do work with them. There was a thing that's been running for quite some time now with Leicester City Football Club called Kicks. So soon, quite a few young people will be aware of that element, which is like sort of coaching from Leicester City Football Club, and they do obviously sporting events. We've worked with them on that, where police officers will also go and do a session maybe prior to a football coaching event, and we would talk to them about antisocial behaviour, knife crime, drugs, etc., etc. And we want to do more of that sort of work. And that shows what can be done, say, from the private sort of sector, as opposed to being government funded. So it's doable, and there can be out there pockets of money for the community to try and get access to run things themselves. So it's very important that those people that have got that sort of motivation to work with young people like yourself,
Yeah.
try to do as much of that work and to try and give people the opportunity to actually be signposted for those things that are available. But you're quite right, we're in that time where it can be quite sort of a struggle to sort of say, right, well, go over there or go here, because we often get the barriers of it costs money, or that's 2 or 3 miles away.
Yeah.
It's not the time that I want to go to that event.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of a difficulty for us in the police, because obviously without those facilities, it can be difficult to then divert people away from antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge, is the answer to that. But we're always trying to work with different groups that want to try and give our footprint of trying to avoid getting involved with criminality and showing the positive side of how to avoid that.
Yeah.
So that's really what, that's my slant. That's for me as a police officer, local police officer, saying it is important to have new facilities available, and it's a bit of a struggle when local authority do back on some of those facilities.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Do you want to add anything on that, Desert?
Only the importance of it, really. What we're talking about is diverting youth from away from crime and things, but
Yes.
it goes a lot deeper than that. And from the youth's perspective, if they're feeling devalued and that no one's caring for them, then they'll take alternative paths. They'll choose to look to peers that will give them a little bit of encouragement. And unfortunately, those peers that they choose are into crime, and they utilise the youths to do their dirty work,
Yeah.
the legwork in relation to drugs or antisocial behaviour, whatever it might be. And the influence that has, it gives them the confidence, they're part of a group, they're in part of a gang, they're in part of a culture, they feel valued. They dismiss the other cultures, the people that are trying to have the moral aspect and the correct way of looking at things. Instead, they embrace the negative sides, which then later on means they come in contact with the police. So a lot of work that we do is diversionary work. So trying to get the youths involved in whatever group it could be, whether it's boxing clubs, whether it's to do with sports facilities, or whether it's to do with academic nighttime classes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, as Mark's just pointed out, the cash is dwindling from the government. So what we're looking at is obviously local privatisation, some kind of community perhaps taking the lead in that and realising how important it is. If they have the confidence and the know-how to look after each other, then when it progresses and it goes forward, then they won't be going down the other route. They'll be looking at thinking, well, actually, as a young child, I was really confident. I learned how to do these different skills, and as a result of doing that, led me on to applying for different roles.
Correct.
And obviously, the police having some kind of connection with the youths at a young age shows them not to be scared, and actually, going back to what Yasin was saying, perhaps that bridge is gapped between us. We breach that gap, and they understand actually they can apply and be a police officer. They can have an influence in their own future and can shape it to the way that they want it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, PC Mark and Sergeant Des. Just for the listeners, I would like to repeat the contact number again. It's 016 462 2506. That's the studio contact number. If you wish to speak to us live, or if you wish to text us or on a normal text or text messaging service or WhatsApp, then the contact number for that is 07510 769997. Currently, we're discussing the issue about youth and how we can assist them, or anything we can actually set up to assist with that. With regards to, PC Mark, did you want to come in on this? Did you want to say something?
Say something actually, because thankfully, Yasin, he didn't actually physically kick me under the table. Nice piece of a note saying, "Don't forget about cadets." And it's very true.
Yeah.
I think Yasin can talk a bit about cadets, because I know we do have sort of cadets once a year. It's normally around sort of September time, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
could just come in on that.
Yeah, please.
One thing, I mean, I was at an event at Madani recently, and I was sharing the information about the cadets scheme with lots of parents and lots of young people. And And I think the awareness of that cadet scheme may not be as widely known as we'd like it to be, and certainly within communities in this side of Leicester. So I think it's important to kind of maybe touch upon that, because it's integral to the discussion we're having now. The cadet system has been something that historically, as Leicestershire Police, we were involved in many years ago. I know that the police officers now that are now retiring after 30 years were actually cadets back then, and joined through the cadet system, progressed through the cadets, and then became police officers thereafter, and then have just finished and retired after 30 years. And we've now brought that system back in the last year or two, I think it is, if not maybe longer. And it's a great way for young people to be involved with the police at that early age. It's a diversionary tactic to be involved in, and the key thing is it's for 13 to 17 year olds. So 13 to 17 year olds, both girls and boys. They are locally run. The closest one from Spinney Hills is at Gateway College in Hamilton. And there is a structured program, I believe. It's one session a week that is run from the Gateway College. And we are going to be opening, I believe, in the new year, probably around February or March time. That's the information I've had. Where we're going to be looking to recruit some more cadets, and so the best way to get information about the cadet system is to go online at our force website, which is www.leics.police.uk. And if you go there and look within the Join Us section, there will be a section on cadets, and all the information on there relates to the cadet system, what it's all about, and there'll be a posting on there and some advertising on there in relation to when we're opening up to recruit cadets again. So as I said, it's 13 to 17 year olds. Locally from Spinney Hill, it's Hamilton, and we're looking to recruit in the early part of next year, so maybe February or March. And look online, www.leics.police.uk. So that's leicestershire.police.uk, and it's within the Join Us section, cadets. And that's, as I said, it's a program. It teaches young people team building, confidence, and it's a great way to be involved in your local community, as well as to learn skills, some social skills that can be, taken on for the future, whether that be to be involved in the police service or any other public service or any other job, really, and it's teaching life skills at the end of the day, which is really great for young people. And it's a really good thing to have on their CV to apply for colleges, for universities, and for jobs. And the fact that you've been involved and you've learnt those skills within a structured organisation as the police.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. While we've got about 4 minutes before we have a break for prayers and salah. So one of the brothers who's been listening to the debate or the discussion, he's actually asked a question, and we've got a couple of minutes, so I think we can cover that question. The question was what is happening, or what is the situation with regards to the drugs issue in Highfields area?
That's a nice question. Yeah, it's obviously drugs is ever evolving in the Highfields. It's always been a big problem for us in the police and the community. We constantly looking at different ways to try and tackle it. We have different operations that we run throughout the year and years. It's a problem that's been going on for a long time. But we do have success in relation to arresting people, charging people, and putting them before the court. The problem is there's always somebody that wants to come and take over that drug patch after someone's been arrested and charged and gone to prison. Or if they come back out, a short period of time, they're back on the streets themselves. I think the important thing to sort of say to that particular listener is that we are listening to the public. We've had various positive community meetings in the last couple of months, whereby it's been reported to us that the level of concern about drug dealing on our local streets. And I can say in the last couple of months we've had at least 5 successful arrests of drug dealers. One was actually the other day in the evening on Spinney Hill Park itself. So I would say that we are working as best we can within the resources we've got available to us, and we are reacting to those reports. It's a big picture. It can't be always policed, this problem. And what I mean by that is this sort of criminality, this sort of world where drugs are available and people get diverted into that sort of element of criminality, you can't police it out of a community. We're part of that remedy, that fix, but it's where we need to empower the community and our partners to work together so we can try and reduce this as much as possible as we go forward for the years to come. And I think I've certainly seen in the 10 years that I've been at Spinney Hill, it's nearly now 20 years I've been a police officer. The first 10 years we've made in the city centre, and I even in those entire 20 years, I know drugs has been an issue in and around the Highfields. But I would like to think that those problems have got better, and we've been working in different ways to try and reduce those problems. But I don't think, it would be naive of me to turn around and say to you that it still is an issue. It certainly is.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, when you get a certain area that gets either recognised or labelled for a certain activity, it's difficult to change that location or that area overnight.
Yeah.
I'm saying even to you, 20 years, we've still got the issue. But I think as our particular community grows and it gets more confident, because some of the issues we have is where the community are quite fearful from drug activity, either the drug users, the drug dealers, because unfortunately within that drug criminality world there is also the fear of or the use of violence. We often see weapons are used against other drug dealers because there is that sort of element of postcode or turf war where they want to control a street or a specific location. Thankfully, the sort of innocent members of the public around that don't often get impacted by getting injured or involved in that, but they see it, and it's not very pleasant.
It's not at all.
No, it's not pleasant at all. But I'm saying to you is we are certainly listening to people, and we are putting things in place to do positive action in what we can from the police side of things.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. We have to take a break now, and we will be back after a short break. Thank you very much. Bye.
أبو بكر فاروق عثمان علي है ये सब उनके दीने मुबी के फ़क़ीह वो फ़क़ीहों का अफ़सर शहे अंबिया वो शहंशाह मदीने में मौजूद है नजर में जमाले हबीबे खुदा उनकी तस्वीर सीने में मौजूद है जिसने लाकर कलामे इलाही दिया वो मुहम्मद मदीने में मौजूद है दर मौला पे सवाली को खड़ा रहने दो 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 मेरे मौला मेरे मौला मेरे मौला दर मौला पे सवाली को खड़ा रहने दो दर मौला पे सवाली को खड़ा رہنے دو سردامت سے جھکا ہے تو جھکا رہنے دو سردامت سے جھکا ہے تو جھکا رہنے دو سردامت سے جھکا ہے تو جھکا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو مجھ کو مل جائے گا صدقہ میں چلا جاؤں گا مجھ کو مل جائے گا صدقہ میں چلا جاؤں گا مجھ کو مل جائے گا صدقہ میں چلا جاؤں گا مجھ کو مل جائے گا صدقہ میں چلا جاؤں گا کسا دل میرا کعبے میں پڑا رہنے دو کسا دل میرا کعبے میں پڑا رہنے دو کسا دل میرا کعبے میں پڑا رہنے دو میرے مولا میرے مولا میرے مولا میرے مولا در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو خود ہی فرمائیں گے مجرم پہ وہ رحمت کی نظر خود ہی فرمائیں گے مجرم پہ وہ رحمت کی نظر خود ہی فرمائیں گے مجرم پہ وہ رحمت کی نظر خود ہی فرمائیں گے مجرم پہ وہ رحمت کی نظر مجھ کو اللہ کی عدالت میں کھڑا رہنے دو مجھ کو اللہ کی عدالت میں کھڑا رہنے دو مجھ کو اللہ کی عدالت میں کھڑا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو چھوڑ کر آپ کا در اب میں کہاں جاؤں گا چھوڑ کر آپ کا در اب میں کہاں جاؤں گا چھوڑ کر آپ کا در اب میں کہاں جاؤں گا چھوڑ کر آپ کا در اب میں کہاں جاؤں گا اس گدا کو اسی سائے میں پڑا رہنے دو اس گدا کو اسی سائے میں پڑا رہنے دو اس گدا کو اسی سائے میں پڑا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑ دو مجھ کو کرنا نہ جدا اپنے در سے مولا تو مجھ کو کرنا نہ جدا اپنے در سے مولا تو مجھ کو کرنا نہ جدا اپنے در سے مولا تو مجھ کو کرنا نہ جدا اپنے در سے مولا تو دل جو دیوانہ بنا ہے تو بنا رہنے دو دل جو دیوانہ بنا ہے تو بنا رہنے دو دل جو دیوانہ بنا ہے تو بنا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو روز محشر یہ گنہگار کے کام آئے گا 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 حیدری رنگ چڑھا ہے تو چڑھا رہنے دو حیدری رنگ چڑھا ہے تو چڑھا رہنے دو حیدری رنگ چڑھا ہے تو چڑھا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو روز کرتا ہوں دعا اپنے مولا سے نفیس 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 اپنی رحمت سے جہاں میرا سجا رہنے دو اپنی رحمت سے جہاں میرا سجا رہنے دو اپنی رحمت سے جہاں میرا سجا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو میرے مولا میرے مولا میرے مولا در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو سرندامت سے جھکا ہے تو جھکا رہنے دو سرندامت سے جھکا ہے تو جھکا رہنے دو سرندامت سے جھکا ہے تو جھکا رہنے دو میرے مولا 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 میرے اللہ میرے اللہ میرے اللہ میرے اللہ میرے مولا در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو در مولا پہ سوالی کو کھڑا رہنے دو لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله فرش التراب يضمني وهو غطائي.
I often give this example with this. You know what the dunya is like? When Allah says it's mata'ul ghurur, goods of deception, it's like a person who's he's asleep and he has a dream. You know, have you ever had a dream? Yeah? You have a dream and you're getting battered in that dream. You actually feel the pain. You're going like this in your dream. But when you wake up, you realize it was only a dream. You realize it's only a dream. You know, you have a dream that subhanallah, you live in Mayfair, you got a flat in Mayfair. You're having this dream. And then whilst you're living in Mayfair, you open the curtains and you look down and you see your Ferrari. And it's like smile upon smile. And then you look around and subhanallah, you see your partner. Most impeccable partner, impeccable character. And you get elated. You're happy. When you're in that dream, you actually feel that is happening to you. But then you open your eyes and you realize that was just a dream. You open your eyes, you realize that was a dream. You go out downstairs and you realize you're still living in Aldgate. You jump out your front door and you see your bicycle. And then that impeccable character, that impeccable wife that you're looking for, you realize you're still single. You're going to go bed alone tonight. But for that period, when you are having that dream, you believe it's real. By Allah. This is why Ali radiallahu anhu said, people are sleeping. Only when they die will they realize The fallacy of the dunya, only when you die will your eyes really open. You know, yesterday there was a plane crash in Pakistan. I think 127 people died. There's millions of people in Pakistan. And subhanAllah, one of my teachers out of those million happened to be on that plane. But we think it's never going to happen to us. We think that we are going to see the tomorrow. By Allah, there is no guarantee that you are going to see tomorrow. There are two tomorrows. There is one tomorrow of this dunya. There is no guarantee that you are going to see it. And there is the tomorrow of the hereafter. I swear by Allah, there is no doubt that you are going to see it. There is no doubt that you are going to see it. And the only thing that will count when you leave this dunya is what actions did you do? How did you serve Allah? Were you true servant to Allah? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالْآدِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا وَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا وَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقْعًا فَوَسَطْنَا بِهِ جَمْعًا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. Allah takes the oath by what? Those horses which fight in jihad. He said, by those horses, when they run, they pant. And they run with so much vigor that they make sparks. And then they attack the enemy in the morning. And then Allah says, فَأَثَرْنَا بِهِ نَقْعًا فَوَسَطْنَا بِهِ جَمْعًا. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. And when they run, they make dust fly up. And when they attack their enemy, they attack right in the middle. But man unto his Lord is ungrateful. Why does Allah say this? Why does Allah give the example of horses and then says man is ungrateful to his Lord? Because see, a horse, the master gives it some fodder. It gives it from food. And that horse is ready to die for his master. And Allah created us. Allah brought us into existence when we did not exist. And we look at our state. Look at our state. Somebody come to our house. Yeah, and he's got bad manners. And we don't like the guy. You know, what do we think? We think, you know what? Can't wait till this guy leave. He's in my house. How can he behave in that manner? That's what we think. You know, it's my house. Do what he wants in his house. But my house, he abides by my laws. But then are we hypocrites? That we walk on the earth of Allah and we transgress His laws day and night. We eat the sustenance that Allah gives us and we gain the energies only to transgress His laws. We spend the lives that Allah gives us in deluding ourselves. Why? Because we make the dunya our maqsad and we forget our purpose in life.
والنور خط كتابه أنسي لقائي फिर करम हो गया मैं मदीने चला फिर करम हो गया मैं मदीने चला 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 फिर करम हो गया मैं मदीने चला कैफ मस्ती अता मुझको कर दे खुदा कैफ मस्ती अता मुझको कर दे खुदा मांगता ये दुआ मैं मदीने चला मांगता ये दुआ मैं मदीने चला मैं मदीने चला मैं मदीने चला फिर करम हो गया मैं मदीने चला ऐ शजरे हजर तुम भी शम्सो कमर ऐ शजरे हजर तुम भी शम्सो कमर देखो देखो जरा देखो देखो जरा मैं मदीने चला मैं मदीने चला मैं मदीने चला फिर करम हो गया میں مدینے چلا کیا بتاؤں ملی دل کو کیسی خوشی کیا بتاؤں ملی دل کو کیسی خوشی جب یہ مجدہ سنا جب یہ مجدہ سنا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا پھر کرم ہو گیا میں مدینے چلا مسکرانے لگی دل کی ایک کلی مسکرانے لگی دل کی ایک کلی غنچۂ دل کھلا غنچۂ دل کھلا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا پھر کرم ہو گیا میں مدینے چلا جو ہے محبوب رب اپنے ان سے ہی سب جو ہے محبوب رب اپنی ان سے ہی سب بخشوانے خطا بخشوانے خطا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا پھر کرم ہو گیا میں مدینے چلا ہاتھ اٹھتے رہے مجھ کو دیتے رہے ہاتھ اٹھتے رہے مجھ کو دیتے رہے وہ طلب سے سوا وہ طلب سے سوا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا پھر کرم ہو گیا میں مدینے چلا ان کے مینار پر جب پڑے گی ان کے مینار پر جب پڑے گی نظر کیا سرور آئے گا کیا سرور آئے گا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا پھر کرم ہو گیا میں مدینے چلا میں مدینے چلا میں
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear listeners, we back with us. Alhamdulillah, we just had a short break for Salah, and now we're back on the studio. Just repeat the quickly repeat the contact number is 01164622506. The number for text and WhatsApp is 07510769997. You're here with me, Adam Al-Rakia, and we've got police force here with us, and we've got two brothers who've actually travelled all the way from Birmingham. They're going to be reciting a nasheed for us, inshallah, in Urdu language. So, assalamu alaikum, brothers.
ربنا يا ربنا 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 یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو جب پڑے مشکل شہ مشکل کشا کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا یا الہی گر महशर से जब बढ़ के बदन या इलाही गर्मी महशर से जब बढ़ के बदन या इलाही गर्मी महशर से जब बढ़ के बदन दामने महबूब की ठंडी हवा का साथ हो रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना या रब्बाना या इलाही जब सरे शमशीर पर चलना पड़े या इलाही जब सरे शमशीर पर चलना पड़े या इलाही जब सरे शमशीर पर चलना पड़े रब सन्नम कहने वाले हमज़दा का साथ हो रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना.
Jazakallahu khairan, mashallah, very nice, mashallah, beautiful. That was, subhanallah, Allah Ta'ala give you barakah. For the brothers and sisters who are listening, just for clarification purposes, there was no musical instruments at all. The brothers were just, mashallah, vocals. These were just beatbox and, vocals, subhanallah. So it was very good, mashallah, Allah Ta'ala give you barakah and Allah Ta'ala bless you. Jazakallahu khairan. Okay, we'll carry on with our discussion with the police officers now, inshallah. Before we carry on with the beat officers, we have DC Yasin Desai who wants to leave his details so that, if anyone wishes to contact him with regards to the AMP, the Association of Muslim Police, then they can contact him. So I'll leave that with Brother Yasin.
Jazakallah, brother, just to let you leave you some details. If you want to contact me via my email, which is AMP, which is Association of Muslim Police, AMP at leicestershire.pnn.police.uk. That's AMP at leicestershire.pnn.police.uk. And you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is at chair LEICS AMP. So that's chair Leicestershire AMP at chair LEICS AMP. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallahu khairan. Okay, Jazakallah khair, Brother Yasin, inshallah, for all the information and your assistance with us on the radio today. We're going back to the discussion with PC Mark Bailey. Again, he's a Spinney Hill Ward local beat officer, and Sergeant Des Hernshaw, Spinney Hill Ward Sergeant. So one of the questions which comes in mind, PC Mark and Sergeant Des, is with regards to previously, this is over 10 years ago now, we used to have some, in jointly with the police force, we used to deliver courses like drugs awareness course or something like that, like, crime courses and all that, just for creating awareness to the youth and all that. Is that still in place, or is this something which can actually go ahead in future to actually start up again?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that. I mean, we can do certain things, and we do drug talks even on these radio shows. We do them quite a few times each year.
Okay.
More specifically, I think the best thing, and what we always do, is we'll signpost parents and users to Talk to Frank website. And I've just done a tweet on our Twitter page in relation to that. And if we go on to Talk to Frank, you can put in your postcode, and it will give you sort of local sort of support groups that can help you in relation to drugs issues. So I'd like to direct people to that website first.
Okay.
And then locally, when you look on there, I've actually looked at it myself, and it comes up with information for New Directions. And they do work with, they've got an under-18s team known as New Directions that works with young people to reduce risk from drug and alcohol. And you can work with those people. They're best to get some advice for parents and for people that are using drugs. And they have a drop-in Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 till 4, Thursday 1 till 5:30. And I'm just reading this from their website on my phone.
Excellent, okay.
So that's really good in relation to signposting people for help and support. In relation to what you're saying about us, the police, doing certain workshops, yes, we can do that, and we have done it in the past, and we'll do them in the future. It's more when we get some sort of idea of either a local school, secondary school, or certain groups, youth groups that want to have an input, then we will certainly work with them and try and build a package together. I've done it in the past, and we'll certainly do it in the future. We haven't done anything recently, but it doesn't mean that we won't do it in the future.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. We've just been joined by Brother Ahmad from CFA. Brother Ahmad from CFA has joined us on this in the studio. He's from Community Football Association, is it?
Yeah, Community Football Academy.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Welcome to the program, MashaAllah. We've been discussing a few issues with regards to youth, and I was talking to the police force with regards to, currently we don't have no facilities. Unfortunately, if we do, then we're very limited facilities for the youth. I did also spoke to them about something which, myself I've been trying to set up. We have an organization called Leicester Youth Association. And you've actually been working with the youth for quite some time, as far as I'm aware.
Yes, we started back in 2004, and it was actually spinning up police station we started off with.
Excellent.
And the problem we've had is the youth have got nothing to do.
Correct.
I mean, football's one of them sport that we can get the lads in, and through football we can do a lot of workshops or get a lot of organisations in, and work with the children. And the bottom line is, I think you've hit the nail in the coffin, is these kids have got nowhere to turn to advice. I mean, not being disrespectful to any mosque or anything like that. The question you've got to ask is, why are these kids not coming to the mosque? All right, they're coming for Friday prayers. They're coming in when it's the fasting month, the first couple of days and the last couple of days. Back in our days, we're back in the 80s. If we didn't come to the mosque, you get a quick slap off your dad and you would be in the mosque. Do you know what I mean? Generations have changed and times have changed. And what is it these kids aren't coming in? Do you know, is it the prayers? Or is it something else? Can we attract them any other way? Back in the old days, back in the days of the Prophet, the mosque was the central hub of the society. Right. And the thing is, if you had any issues, there was market was done, any issues, it could have been dealt with at the mosque. I don't know whether, talking to some youngsters, isolated if they come to the mosque, or they've been sidelined, oh, he's a bad boy, blah, blah, blah. What's he doing in the mosque, etc. We need to be more welcoming to these youths. And, the message to the parents, I always say to the parents is, you've got to be a parent, but you've got to be a friend first. At the end of the day, kids tend to change when they become teenagers, and the vulnerable age is 14 to 16 years old. That's the most vulnerable age. And sometimes boys, all they need is a cuddle. They've got nobody to talk to. They probably feel ashamed. We get kids coming up to us and saying, you know what, I'm in this trouble. I can't do this at school. I can't do this at mosque. I'm in this sort of trouble. They come to us and talk to us. And I said, well, why don't you talk to your mum and dad? I can't talk to my dad. He's not interested. Little things like that.
Yeah. Which is vital with regards to, as you mentioned about the parents. Of course, it's very important for us to have that relationship with our children, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with all of us, bless us with children and the pious children as well. With regards to that, is very, very important. So, you, as you said, you set up in 2004, 2003. Sorry, you mentioned. What do you actually do? Because a lot of people listening out there, they might know about you, but some people who are not aware of what you actually do. Would you like to just explain to us what your role is, please?
Yeah, Community Football Academy started off back in 2004. I think back in 2004 we had a lot of drug issues in Highfield and Leamington area, and I think it was the old ex-Chief Inspector Keenan. He approached me and he goes, what can we do with the kids? Because I played a lot of high semi-professional football, and he goes, what can we do with the kids, because of this issue? And I said, look, the only way we can do it, and if you want my help, is football. I know boys love football, so what we did a pilot tournament, and it was for 11-year-olds, and it was a I mentioned the name, next to Crown Hills Goals.
Yeah.
We did it there. 57 kids turned up, and you know what, it was a really good day. And cut a long story short, we attracted kids who didn't play any mainstream competitive football, so they're not attached to any clubs or anything like that. So we got majority of the kids in there from Highfields and Leamington area, and what we did, we structured tournaments as well. And these tournaments, invites went out to not football clubs, but to community centres, mosques, temples, youth organisations, all throughout the city. And in 2005, we did the first ever interfaith football tournament. 500 kids turned up, and I still remember the date, January 21st, and it was the very first time the Muslim scholars, the imams, played the Leicestershire Constabulary. Got a lot of the high media profile as well. I think BBC was down, Sky was down, a lot of people came. It was the first time it ever happened. And I won't tell you what the score was. I've got two police officers sitting in front of me. And I'm saying, you've got to thrash him, you've got to thrash him.
We let them win.
Oh, and what it was, from then on, we thought every time we do a football tournament, we'll try and put a theme to it. I mean, we've done these tournaments all around Leicester. We've done it in Moore Community College, in Braunston, in Northfield, Saffron Lane, Leicester City Training Ground. And we've always put a theme to it. know what I mean? Like, I think years ago we did guns. I mean, guns was fashionable, wasn't it? About 6-7 years ago. So the armed response came in. We've taken kids down to police headquarters, and I think police have done like a little show kind of thing, and all that sort of thing. So we've had the NHS involved. So it's not just a football tournament. It's like we put a thing to it as well. So there's something at the end of it for the kids to do. And from then, I think from 2011, we managed to get we've got 11 teams in the league now. And a lot of these kids have never played any football, and it was like myself. And now we've got 70 qualified coaches. We started off with girls, got 10 sisters that are qualified as well. They just do female football coaching as well. And I mean, we've got about 400 kids, 3 adults team, and last year was one of our most successful years. You know, all our teams got promoted, won trophies, etc. and stuff like that. So it's what you put is what you get. And besides football, we do a lot of workshops as well. I think we're just in the process of doing the prevent with Bill up.
Yeah,
I'm just getting that date sorted. I think we were down a couple of weeks doing about beat bullying, the little kids, internet bullying and that sort of thing. And it's one of them things that, you know, you can do stuff. You know, football's one of them that we invite the kids in, and we managed to get parents in. I was really surprised on a Thursday night. We talked about bullying, and 25 parents turned up at 9 o'clock. And the reason we do late coaching is because we've got to look after them and dress at the most timetable as well. Because the kids finish at 7:30, everything coaching's got to be done after 8 o'clock, because you can't just turn up on a Sunday and play football. It doesn't work like that.
Where are you based, Ahmed?
Judge
Meadow. I'm just looking at the website because it's on the fa.com website. I've just done a quick search for it. And there's a lot of information there. Obviously, like you say, it's Judge Meadow, which is Meridine Drive. Yeah. It's got your details on there, which is really good. You've got a lot of teams on here. You've got under 12s, open aged. There's lots of detail on this little website here from the FA. So just tell us a bit more about the times that you sort of operate.
Yeah, midweek for the teams that play in the league, the coaching is normally done between 8 till 9:30.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday we do the under 15s. They train at St Margaret's Pastures, and I think that's about 8:30 till 10 o'clock. The under 12s they train on a Thursday night, 8:30 till 9:30 again.
Yeah.
And on the Friday we have the under 11s, under 13s, and under 14s, and they're at Judge Meadow. And on a Sunday morning we do casual coaching.
Right.
This is from 10:30 to 12:30. This is kids who don't want to play any mainstream competitive football, but they just want to come in for football.
Yeah, they want to play football.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a cost involved?
It's only £2 a session, basically.
Okay, sure.
For the casual coaching, obviously for the league coaching, it's slightly different because you've got to pay for the referees, you've got to pay for the pitch hire, etc. and stuff like that. We was meant to be doing a tournament, but I think that's just fallen through because, you know, some of the guys aren't available. What we try and tend to do is, like Easter holidays or half term, we try and do a football tournament as well, get you guys to ref.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And get kids from like all around the city. You know what I mean? And talk about multiculturalism and diversity.
And how do you find the uptake at the moment in relation to either the leagues or the people that just, the lads or girls that just want to come for the kick around? Are you still getting the sort of uptake of people wanting to come along? You find it's still successful?
I mean, normally on a Sunday morning, we get about anything from 80 to 100 kids. I mean, today, because it's the first time.
That's a lot, though, isn't it?
It is. I mean, today we've got about 30 kids because of the weather. I think Asians and bad weather don't know. I'll be honest with you, I've been doing this long enough, and I've noticed the last 13 years, as soon as it gets cold, the temperature drops, the numbers drops as well.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's one of them things. But like, we're always open. You know, any kids want to come, you know, and their progression, if they do want to play any competitive football, they'll start off at the academy and they can move on to any of the league teams.
Yeah, it's good to have that access, isn't it? And so you open it up then, so it's a case, if you want to come and have a kick around, come and do that, but then you've got the league system built into that, which gives that edge of competitiveness or team element to it, which makes it something to drive to, doesn't it? Yeah, to move them on for, which is really good. How do you, obviously you were talking about Prevent earlier in relation to working with Bill Knoll. What more work do you see doing with the police in other sort of projects? I mean, we had many sessions with you yet in relation to doing.
This year,
yeah,
it has done quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2009 to 2012, we did quite a bit.
Yes.
And I mean, we had a phase where we wanted to move the club forward, put more teams in the league.
Yeah.
You know, get people qualified. You know, why walk? You know, you can't run before you can walk.
No, exactly.
That's what we try and do. Now we're ready to do and try and do more workshops with the kids. You know, and
plus half the time we do a lot of work in schools anyway, I mean, and we recognise we don't want to duplicate certain things because young people are really not going to be that impressed if we've gone to see them at their local college.
I mean, the best way I've noticed is it's got to be quick, short and sharp. Spend 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Deliver your workshop. Any questions, and you're back out. The kids back.
Yeah.
You know, it's like on average. If it's a 2 o'clock kickoff, we'll get the kids in for 12 o'clock, slightly early. Talk to them for about 30, 35 minutes, and then
maximum really. Yeah.
It's got to be quick, short and sharp, because you know what it's like. Kids get bored and start getting.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So it's got to be quick, short and sharp, basically.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some of the workshops, you know, I'm going to try and get to the police station, you know, with the police transport is I want to do slightly a bit more workshop in 2017.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because we break up at the 18th, so there's only 3-4 weeks left. But I'm like thinking, once the kids come back after the winter break in January, try and do some more workshops with the academy kids. You know, kids who don't get to see kids from other areas. You know,
sure.
You know, get the police in. I mean, we're taking kids down Saffron Lane, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, I remember this going back years ago. We went to the hardcore Saffron. You know, I think they had a lot of issues there with the Somali family.
Yeah.
And one of the youth workers who I know said, "Oh, would you mind coming in and do us a favour? Just come in and do a coaching session." I said, "I don't mind." Me and this fellow coach came in, and was like, and some other little kids. And as soon as we got off the minibus, I mean, little kid, 3-4 year old, oh dear, he's a landed. You know, not being disrespectful to the kid, because he's just brought up what he's seen and what the parents have said.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, the coach is like, you know what I mean? But like, it was something different for the kids as well. And I said, look, it's about work. I don't like to use. I mean, I'm not from Leicester originally, but like in Leicester, where I've known.
I can tell from your accent.
I don't like to use the word ghettos, but there's a lot of people, not just here, in Highfields, Evington, or St Matthews, they like to be intact. And they like
you often find that, don't you? With certain communities, will naturally go to a community they feel comfortable with, and that's often themselves, you know. And that's what it's a natural sort of thing. I know communities in the past or councils in the past have tried to look at ways of trying to integrate and mix more. But unfortunately, I'll say the word unfortunately, it's a natural thing that we as individuals want to be comfortable. Exactly. So, I mean, that's why we've got so many mosques, I wouldn't be able to name them all in relation to the Spinney Hill area. It's not a negative thing, but it just shows how we naturally will want to go to where people we feel comfortable with. So you will get these areas in many cities where you'll have little pockets or big pockets of certain communities. And it's about how we, not only as the police, but also then the community themselves, try and do their part to have that integration and familiarisation with other people in your city. And by what you're doing and what you're demonstrating, it sort of gives that opportunity to have that either sort of that conversation with not only the young but adults as well. And football is a good way to try and exactly.
Back in 2004, we went to Quenneborough. I think there was like a small football event or whatever, and the Multicultural Society in Leicester said, "Look, we can get 12, 13 Asian kids," and I said, "Yeah, why not?" And he goes, "We've got this tournament," so I took these kids, and we were only probably gone past Thurmston Asda.
Yeah.
And then this child goes up to me and he goes, "Coach, are we still in Leicester?" Well, we travelled, don't you?
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it's little things like that.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how you can be in a different part of the city and then a couple of minutes later, you've not gone very far, but the environment can look very different just from that short distance, just even 2 or 3 miles away.
But, I mean, on the flip side of it, I mean, we had a little racial issue in one of our under-13s game a couple of weeks ago, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago. But then it's like I said to the FA, rather than find the clubs, why don't you educate the kids?
Yeah.
Spend a day, I don't mean, okay, day's probably wrong, a couple of hours, bring them down, talk to the kids about what it's like on this side as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Let's talk to them and say, look, there is another community there. You know, kids, I don't think kids realise until they get to 17, 18, and then when they go in that big bad world, it's college normally.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they realise, whoa, hold on, he's white, he's black, he's Asian, he's
Yeah.
this. And that's when they realise that, well, then there is other people out there.
That's right.
You know, not just from the Asian concept, even from the white community. You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's just one of them things, you know, Leicester's one of them cities that it's quite diverse. And
Yes.
cultural.
Yeah. But then you could be from another part of Leicester and come into, say, like the Highfields and think, crikey, this is completely sort of Asian and Muslim sort of background with pockets of Hindu and Sikh, and people will think, crikey, where have I just come to?
Yeah.
You know, and so it works in so many different ways. But I mean, I think that for me, that's what makes policing it's challenging, but also very sort of exciting, and it makes it so much different in relation to a career in the way that how we have to work with individuals. It's always very interesting, very challenging, but it's a good thing to do. I must admit, you know, it's really, It makes you want to make sure you do another thing the next day. And it brings up some strange sort of things in the police in relation to how the communities mix or don't mix. You know, and we have to look at different sort of strategies in how we, you know, successfully keep people together. And that includes the likes of you that do certain events with young people to try and break down those barriers. And without it, it just makes our job so much harder.
It's like I always say, it's a big jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
need each other. Do you know what I mean? In order for everybody to get on.
Yeah, that's right.
You're always going to get a small minority of people. You know what I mean? But then not all five fingers are the same, are they? You know
No, it can take many years to sort of get that education or that awareness of different culture, different ethnicities, and like you were saying, from parents. Well, I know what my parents were like years ago, and it took me educating my parents about other people, other communities, for them to realise, in actual fact, we might have different cultures or religion or whatever backgrounds, but we're actually still human beings. You know, we need a job, we need to earn money, we go to shops, we buy food, we go out and socialise. There's all those things, and there's a lot of things that we have in common, and it's about bringing those things together and sort of, you know, getting on. Yeah, I think, we've lost our host. Adam's done a runner, so no one knows where we've got a host at the minute. So we're going to work freelance at the moment.
Well, I can do it.
Well, you can. Oh, that's good. So, I mean,
yeah, go on.
There was a question here.
Oh, go on then.
They're saying that we know that we don't have enough centers.
Yeah.
We did less than that, especially in high schools.
Okay.
And a lot of things we have is more like private, people, private organizations.
Yeah.
What do you think the community can do to support those
Well,
private organizations?
I think we need to all come as one first. That's the most important thing. Me personally, this is my personal belief and my personal thinking is we need to all get together and not worry about who's in charge, who's this, who's that. That's the most important thing. Because, my time in Leicester, what I've realised is everybody wants to be chief. Everybody wants to be the Don, but nobody wants to do the work. That's the thing. Some people are in there for the glory, but I think in that we tend to forget what our job's here for.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing. And I think we touched on it before when we started, is we think about ourselves, but we're not thinking about the community or the children, because it's today, today's kids, today's youth, or tomorrow's adults.
Absolutely.
And if we're not going to work with these people now, what's going to happen with them when they grow older? Because they'll just think, well, hold on, you guys were there in power or in authority, but what did you do for me? If you'd have done something for me, I could do something for the next generation. It's like I always say to my coaches, I've laid the seeds down for you guys to take it forward. And I've always worked with young people, between the age of 16 and 22, because sometimes they have the better ideas than what we have.
Yeah.
They might think it's something really simple and stupid, but it's not. They might think, well, hold on, this, and you sit back and think, hold on, that's fresh blood, that is. That's a fresh idea. I'm not saying I'm old and whatever, but sometimes they have the really fantastic, really good ideas. And I think what we need to do is, I think we need to unite as a community and look for the good of how we can move forward and do something for the kids. It might not be, I'm not about just football. It could be something for mothers and daughters or kids in the day. It could be a facility, I don't know, let's just say a building up there. It can be used as a creche facility, homework club, or we can do workshops, simple as that. If we can't go to the mosque and utilise the mosques, why can't we get somewhere and look for something and, be creative? And we can go to the council and say, look, I've got X, Y, Z money. Could you look for a place for us? There's no point going to the council with 10,000 signatures and go like beggars. Do you know what I mean? And say, I've got 10,000 signatures, the community needs a centre. Hold on, if you'd have taken £10 of everybody, do the sums, that's 100k.
Yeah.
Plus you've got the business community. And we can do something for we can actually do something. But the simple thing is, my personal belief is, we need to be run by youngsters, not pure youngsters, but people who's got a bit of a creative mind, a bit of business sense, and we could do something and work with the next generation of kids. And we have to work together.
But at the same time, we need community support.
Of course we do. At the end of the day, it's a community. Again, this is again my thinking. We can all build mosques. Don't get me wrong. We've got. We're blessed with mosques in Leicester. Yeah, fine. I've got nothing against that. But why aren't we doing anything else? Do you know what I mean? You look at the Sikh community, the Hindu community. They've all got stuff for their community. What have we got? Just a mosque, simple mosque. That's it. Nothing else. That again. Some people out there probably disagree with me, and they probably think, I'm wrong here, and they'll probably criticise me when I walk out of that door. But this is my belief, and that's the way I see it. Because I actually work with youngsters, and parents come up to me, and a few of my coaches, and they say to me, "I've worked with my son. They've probably gone off track at 14, 15." And I go, "Well, have you chat with him? Well, I've spoken to X, Y, and Z. He's spoken to this religious scholar. He's not interested. So can you?" And I said, "Well, why don't you talk to him? Do you know what I mean? He's got nowhere to go." I'm going back to when we had the Leicester riots. We were in the front line with the police, a few of us.
Yeah.
And we're just generally trying to control the guys as well. And we were listening to some of the youngsters between 16 and 25. And it was like, you talk to them, "Why are you doing this?" "I've got nothing to do. I don't even know how to do a CV."
Yeah.
Because, I've got drug issues. Who do I go to? What can I talk about? My parents aren't interested and stuff like that. And you look at the background and, quite a few people, and I'm thinking, you can't do a CV. Okay, you don't want to go to the job centre, but if you had like a community centre and stuff like that where kids can actually come down, and young adults can come down and talk to people, that's what it's about, a two-way process.
No, it is about that, and I think it's important that we sort of get people empowered to do that from the community that we're working in, and that the community is quite wide in different sort of pockets of that. But it's interesting you say that about different sort of the mosques and the makeup of the mosques that we've got in say the Highfields. And I understand the religious viewpoint is because obviously that's the religion side of things. Yeah. But then equally, the community then maybe need to have that sort of diversion to say, well, maybe now we need to have a community centre for us, and then try and develop that and push that forward. I mean, I know we have got centres in the Highfields, and utilise it. No, this is the problem. And I think it's interesting what you just said about the young people need to drive it, and it may well be the fact that because young people now are very much driven by social media, online activity, and we shouldn't be afraid of that. And it's more about that is probably the where it will go a lot more, and it may well be that young people will create, or hopefully be given the opportunity to create certain online tools to give that sort of support for themselves to work through and actually give them advice and guidance. So, and what we would class as an old-fashioned sort of drop-in community centre, it will probably be an online drop-in. Because that's what they're about, aren't they? That's what this generation is about. And social media. And maybe that's what we need them to do,
I think a lot of that work's going on already.
Yeah, no, probably
I think with the youth of today and what we're talking about in general, they're already sighted on a lot of what we're talking about. I bet there's people screaming right down now saying, we're doing that. But we just don't know about it because our generation aren't linked up the same way that they are.
Yeah, that's right.
There's that connection gap of communication. And it goes back to exactly what you're saying about parenting. None of us are experts in parenting. We don't get a class. We're given a baby, and there you go. Get on with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're supported, if you like, by the elder community that tells us what to do. But their ways and beliefs are outdated by the time it comes to us, and our ways and beliefs are now going to be outdated by the way it comes to the kids.
Exactly.
And exactly what you're saying. It's brilliant what you're doing, by the way.
Thank you.
It's fantastic, and I hope to see more of it. Other people stepping up and taking a bit of responsibility to help the younger folk to sort of understand what's going on.
It's like the way I see it. If we're not going to do it, who's going to do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Someone's got to do it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I love football. I'm not going to say I don't. Do you know what I mean? I love work, breathe.
I'd like to think so.
You know what I mean?
What are you doing?
I mean, I still remember the goal I scored against this guy at Moore Community College in 2007. We did a little football tournament for kids. I think we got 4 or 500 kids that turned up. And it was like housing officers, people in Highfields against the police. Yeah. And I played against the police, and I think I did an overhead kick against this guy in goal. Last kick of the game.
It was the hard cost of the score, isn't it?
He was a hard play.
Eunice's memory is normally very good, but I think he's quite vague on that.
I think he was a good keeper.
How many did you save before you let one in, though?
I think
Oh, did you?
Oh, you got pity for me, did you? Thank you.
I knew that would come in at some point. No, it's really good what you're doing in relation to the football and the actual academy you've got running. It sounds like it's been running for quite a few years now.
Yeah, 2004. Yeah, don't know where the time's gone. And the beauty of it is, I've also, through the academy, we've taken like religious leaders from either Hindu, Muslim, Sikh. We've taken them all around Europe as well. We've done interfaith events. I remember, I don't know if you remember, did you play that? 2009, we did one at Spinning Hill Park.
With Swedish.
Yeah, the Swedish police came down. The delegation from Sweden came down, and I'm not joking. It was on a Wednesday night, and it was like we did a 4-way tournament, but the high profile was the police and the various religious leaders against the Swedish police, and we beat them at the end of the day, didn't we? But the fantastic thing was there was about 1,800 people turned up on a Wednesday night.
Watch, yeah.
You know, obviously you had all the whole media, and I think you did all the stewarding for me as well, didn't you? The police did, yeah. They did all the, and you know, it's like days like that makes it worthwhile. You think, you know what, you know, the police aren't the bad guys. The community leaders or the faith leaders aren't bad guys either. You know what I mean? They see people out of their shell and in different limelight, and that's what it's all about.
It's breaking down as bad.
It is, of course it is.
Seeing us out of uniform sometimes and realising we're just people inside a uniform. You know.
Yes. I mean, I think we did an event back in, I think it was 2008, and I think the police did a dog show, and you had your motorbikes, your squad cars, and everything. And I went on the other side of Judge Meadow just to see a good friend of mine, and there was like a break in between, and you had your dogs, you know, where you put the sleeve on and all that. Yeah. And I come back, and all the kids had disappeared because Asian kids don't like dogs, Muslim kids don't like dogs. They're scared. Come on, walking on. Where's all the kids gone? And this police officer came up to me. And he goes, oh, all your kids are at the Football Foundation, you know, the Football Foundation building. They're all there. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I forgot to tell you. I said, Muslim kids don't like dogs. You know what I mean? And all you see was like a handful of about 20, 30 kids, you know what I mean, just watching this show. Yeah. And it's like funny things like that. And you think, you know, it's brilliant.
What do you think in relation to, you know, how we often get a lot of criticism, or I say local government, local councils get criticised for cutting back in relation to youth facilities. What do you think we probably do need to have? Because sometimes we have, like the Highfield Centre, we've got Wesley Hall, we've got African Caribbean Centre, we've got these centres. What do you think we need to do with these centres? What do you think we should be asking local government to provide for the youth?
I think two questions. Why? The first question for me is, why aren't the youngsters coming there?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the first question. Yeah, you know, I mean, let's not talk about Highfield Community Centre. That's a bit of a politics. You know, we know the politics that's going on there. But the question we need to ask is, are they welcoming the youth, or are they welcoming the community?
Yeah.
Because what I tend to notice is a lot of people, once you get in there, they tend to forget about the local community.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just community. I mean, you know, all walks of life. Once you've made your little power, you know what, I'm sitting there, I've done my bit, I'll call my people in and do my little work. And they tend to forget about the local community. Or they'll say, yes, we're working, 10% is with the local community. You know what I mean? And, I mean, it's like, you know, Wesley Hall, why aren't the guys or people not using these centres? You know, what is the restriction? Is there a restriction? You know, council should look at, well, hold on, like you said, we've got these 3 holes, why aren't they coming? Why aren't people? Yeah, okay, the African Caribbean Centre has been used by the, you know, from the African Caribbean community. They use it, but Highfield Community Centres, Wesley Hall, hardly being used.
Because Highfield Centre is a fantastic centre. I mean, it's got a brilliant gym. The hall is fantastic. Lots of good facilities there. And I mean, obviously for us, I mean, obviously I know we have assisted in funding a couple of years ago. We're trying to find. We gave them what was called. They had a late lounge.
Right.
And that ran a couple of nights a week when we was having some problems in relation to antisocial behaviour, and it really worked. It sort of gave a location for people to go, but it's just, you know, unfortunately we couldn't provide much funding. I say we, it was us working within the council and other stuff, trying to get different streams of funding to try and keep that going, but it doesn't last forever, unfortunately. So that facility now has been withdrawn, and it's just, you know, and it was successful. I think on the height of the peak of when people were attending that, young people, he was getting like 50, 60 people on a night. So it was drawing young people in. But it's now that's not there. What is available? What's on offer? And what can we try and signpost people to? You know, but I mean, obviously that's what I was talking about online.
Yeah.
Because I often think how much actually happens online that we don't actually know about.
But there's a question there for you.
Okay, I'll read the question. I'll let you talk a bit more then.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's right. In relation to what you think in relation to how we can go forward.
You probably agree with me as well. Do you know what I mean? I think we need to work with the next generation of youngsters. Definitely, it's got to be a two-way process. You know, whether it's the mosque coming on board, the council coming on board, and the youth and the youngsters coming on board. It's got to be a three-way process, and it's got to be. You know, we can't just do it. Police can't just do it. Council can't. We've all got to sit down and say, how can we work this further? You know what I mean?
That's the best idea. Because if you see the current philosophy of the young people, you know, a lot of communities say, a lot of parents, in fact, they're coming to us and say, we're losing our kids.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, you're right. We need to work with the community, especially parents, to come on board.
It is.
And support those organisations which are working with young people.
That's the most important thing. You know, we've all got to sit down and say, look, how can we move forward? Whether it's
Yeah.
the council, it's the police, the parents, the youngsters. I think we've all got to sit down, and I think everyone's got to have their opinion, you know, written down on the table and say, well, hold on, what is it the parents want? What is it the police want? What is it the council want? What is it us guys want? What is it the youngsters want? And I think we've got to work for a common cause, because there's got to be something that we all must get. You know, there's got to be a bottom line. We all want the same thing, but it's how we do it and how we act. That's the most important. There's no point in the council saying, well, we're going to have this community centre, right, but we don't know how we're going to attract the people.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean?
You need the right people to run these facilities, don't you?
Then
And
we've
to
got to
really
take the
find
points
out
of
what's needed.
Then we've got to take the points of views of the youth as well, because there might be issues that they're probably thinking, oh, they're not tackling X, Y, Z properly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or ABC's fine, DE's like this. You know, so we've got to take everybody's point of view. We've got to have an open forum where we could all sit down for a common cause. That's the most important thing. That's me personally saying it. You know, that's the most common cause. That's the only way of doing it. There's no point just us not saying, well, okay, there's the centre. We'll try and do this.
Okay.
There's always going to be somebody who's not going to like it.
Right, we'll lead on to them. We had a question that was texted through to us. No, well, we can talk about it now, because it basically, there was a question that got texted into us, and it was asking us, the police, what are we doing in relation to robberies of local businesses? And I'll make that clear that what I think that person's trying to say is we've had a few break-ins or burglaries into sort of shops locally and some businesses. And really, the message is, because it's asking what are we doing about it? Well, we're arresting people for starters. When we get sufficient evidence from either CCTV cameras or forensics, either DNA of blood that's left at the scene, fingerprints, etc., then when those come back from those forensics, then we are quite often and regularly arrest those suspects. And I can tell you now, myself, I arrested a suspect probably 3 or 4 weeks ago who was caught in the act of trying to break into a local house only 3 streets away. And there was actually, when I actually got him arrested, there was a link for him for 2 other offences that we'd got, and they weren't even nearby. They were quite, 3 or 4 miles away from where we are now. So it just shows how our criminals that do break-ins to shops or houses, how they can operate in quite a wide sort of area. But we, the police, we do use the technology that's open to us by using forensic capabilities, etc., and we will get people arrested and locked up. It is true that on certain occasions we won't have the forensics, we won't have the CCTV, and that's where we then will revisit those shops, those houses, and try and review their security with them to try and give them ideas of how best to make sure their house or their business is as well protected as they can. So that work we will do. It talks about, the text message also asks the question about visible policing. And that can be a difficult one with the resources that we do have open to us, but we do it. So we do have police patrols, whether it be on foot or in vehicles, and they operate at different times, obviously. So you might not always see these police patrols because we don't have an infinite amount of police resources, but we still do that. Yeah, go on, ask a question.
About policing, is there like a guidelines, like say certain area, let's just say Highfield, Edmonton area,
sure.
I don't know what the population is. Is there meant to be so many officers per area or per city or per whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask my sergeant to correct me if I'm wrong, but generally speaking, we'll have like, from our statistics over the years, we build up information for number of incidents, number of crimes, type of crimes. Then we have like a threat, risk and harm sort of index for an area. And then from all of that data, then we get the number crunching goes along, and then certain numbers of officers are then posted in different locations. And that's what normally happens, and it gets reviewed. And so, yes, there is numbers that are posted in different areas, and then we have our response teams. We have me, which is a neighbourhood officer, that are then posted in different locations. Obviously, we can only work with the numbers that we've got in relation to officers. We'd always like more, so we have to work with what we've got. But yes, you're quite right. We will look on the data, and we try and work smartly. We don't lick our finger, put it in the air, and think, oh, how many officers we put over there. Sometimes policing is a lot of reactive work. So when we do get spikes in crime, we have to then try and do reactive work, and we might do a quick sort of operation plan to put officers direct into that location or surrounding that location to try and target certain individuals or locations. But there's lots of work that's currently done. College of Policing and evidence-based policing. There's a lot of work that's been done in the last sort of 2 or 3 years now, where we're trying to do more work based on evidence. So it's not a case of just, oh, this is what we've done in the past as policing. What has shown to work? What is successful?
Right.
Because the text message that person was asking about police patrols, and sometimes police patrols has no impact on crime, but it does on different aspects of crime, or it makes people feel better, or makes them feel more confident to go out.
Yeah.
So sometimes police patrols is more beneficial for the likes of, say, antisocial behaviour, but in other essences of, like, say, burglaries, it's a bit hit and miss, and we're still waiting for more data to be collected so we can work on that research to try and make sure we're using our resources in the best way. I'll ask myself, is there anything else that you think you can add to that?
Think from the point of view as to what we're doing with the breaks and the things that are happening with crime, the conversation goes back to the youths, it goes back to our engagement, it goes back to our overall strategy, because my team that work here on Spinney Hills and the Highfields do a tremendous job with linking in with the community. And a lot of people would ask, well, what are you doing that for? Or what are you patrolling? What are you making arrests? Well, we can't make arrests unless we know who we're going to arrest.
Yeah, that's
so
true. That's
true. We've got our avenues we go down, our fingerprinting, our DNA hits. We've got different things like that, as Mark's just sort of explained. But it's much bigger than that. We need the information from the community. We need the community to understand when somebody is starting to show signs of using drugs, going off the rails, not behaving as they normally would. Well, what's behind that? Have they been taken in by a group? Are they being influenced? Are they actually now being forced to go out and commit burglaries? Are they stealing from cars to fund drug habits? All these things link in. We get a little bit of information, and my team look at that, and they build up a picture. Oh, actually, we've got 10 other reports prior to today saying this person's sort of gone off the rails. He's had a bit of intervention work, but he's still going off the rails. So we go and pay a visit, and then before you know it, we've got a suspect for the breaks. And that's how a lot of our people, we get arrested. That's how it starts off. But we need people to talk to us about what's going on within the area.
Are people more forthcoming with the information?
Not really.
No.
I mean, I've only been here a couple of months now, and the biggest thing for me driving is engagement. So being out here doing this talk show today is I want people to understand what we're about, so they can talk to us, feel open to come and chat to me in the street. If they see my stuff about, that's a police officer, mustn't look at him. Go and approach the officers, go and speak to them, let them know what's going on. If we do that, surprisingly, what comes out is we hear about somebody down the street that's not acting very, very nicely to others, and it leads from antisocial behaviour to crime to making arrests. And the same also, if we're talking, we've got open dialogue, they're telling us things, we give them information. Secure your property, make sure you've got crime prevention advice in place. So, CCTV is one thing that a lot of people do, but it's the simple things. A lot of these breaks into religious establishments is because of cash, easily available cash. It's been left visible. So a large amount of people come into these establishments and they see the open cash tins. They're easy to access. Unfortunately, a lot of security around the places haven't been upgraded, and also so they're easy targets. It's an easy win for the thieves, and then they get away. They use the cash to buy the drugs or whatever they need to do with that money. And so we also then have to work with the offenders. So on the back end, okay, we've made arrests. We put them behind the bars for a couple of months or maybe a year if we're lucky. They're back out on the streets doing exactly the same thing. And they'll stick to what they know because they were successful at it before. So our work is also the other side, when they come out, engaging with those people, making sure they've got work when they come out, they've got a home to go to, and they feel like actually people do care about them, don't have to go and break into someone's home again and again and again. And actually we're going to give them, go to one of the youth projects you're talking about and go and help the kids. Give them a meaning and a purpose instead of committing crime. And we stop those criminals at that point. The old school looking at policing is we've realised that doesn't work. The prisons are full. What's all over the news at the minute about the prisons? We can't put any more in there at the minute. There's a dire crisis inside the prison. So what are we going to do about it? We need to divert people from going there. There's obviously going to be the people that we need to put behind bars, obviously, but there's others that we can get before they get to that stage. And that's what the neighbourhood team are all about, is getting them before. Just what you're saying, it links up completely. It's a much bigger picture.
I mean, here's a question. I mean, I'm working with, the Knife Awareness Project with Amy Morgan. I've got her coming down tonight. I mean, she's coming down tonight talking about Tyler's death, etc. and stuff like that. Here's a question. I mean, we were just talking to some parents a couple of days ago. And this was a question I wanted to ask, and I thought, do you think knife crime is on the up, or is it? I mean, I saw some youngsters. I mean, I'm going back a couple of months ago at football at Just Meadow, and they were like probably 16-year-olds. You know what I mean? And I went to the coach and I said, "You do know I mean, he's like trying to use code words, you know what I mean? I mean, like, they're thinking we're old, you know what I mean? Oh, I'm 45. But I mean, I do know what, you know, shank and all that thing is. And I'm thinking, I said, you do know that one of your kids have got a blade and etc. stuff like that in there. He goes, oh, I didn't know. I said, well, what are they doing? They've only come to play football. And like I said to him, if he's bought that, the intent's there then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're not going to carry it for a fashion accessory. It's not like a mobile
So
phone.
why are they carrying it?
Exactly.
So are they in fear because someone prior to that day has been shown a knife?
Is it
so
people,
they carry it themselves?
Is it the youngsters? I'm not saying everybody. Like I said, there's always a small minority.
Yeah, it's
Do you
rare.
think kids think it's cool to carry something like that?
There's an element of that, I think, but it's like what Des was saying about that there's a fear factor as well, and sometimes young people are arming themselves with weapons, and knives is one of them, because they think they need to do that because of the fear. Whether they'd be equipped, skilled, be able to use that item is a different matter, and it's more likely that item will be used against them. And it is an extremely dangerous situation that we have. Your question about is it on the increase? I haven't got any data to say it's on the increase, but I'm certainly aware that young people are carrying knives, and that is a worry for us in the police, obviously, and it's a worry for the community.
Gone are the days where the old-fashioned fist fight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And I think for me, it would be the message for me and from the police is that parents should be making sure they are aware of what their children have access to, and you know, don't be afraid of saying what's in your bag, because you remember you're the parent.
Yeah, of course you are.
They're the children.
Do you think parents are slightly scared?
Yeah, I think so. We hear that a lot, where parents feel in fear of their own children. Yeah. And that's where we need as a community to try and encourage ourselves as parents to make sure, cause like my kids, I say kids, but they're 20 and 18. But, you know, that's many years of experience of being a parent, and you make mistakes as you go along. Every parent does. But it's about trying to keep yourself focused on the I am the parent.
Yeah.
You know, and even now they're adults, I'm still the parent. Yeah. It's my house, it's my roof. You live under my roof, rules, under my consent, under my rules. Oh yes, you're an adult now. That means when you're an adult, you can walk out the door and find your own roof. But as soon as you enter my house, it's my rules. And I've had some interesting conversations with my kids about that particular topic. And I think it's very important to keep that clear as best as we can as parents as our children grow up, and making sure that the boundaries are as they can get blurred as they get older, because we as parents want to give our children the opportunity to grow, to do things and to experience things, and they're going to make mistakes because we all do, but it's about making
life, isn't it?
Precisely. But you're quite right. I think the important thing is the parenting element, and it can be difficult because we've heard various stories even in the last couple of weeks where we've had some community meetings, and some parents will say that their son is threatening to take them to social services because they'll make an allegation against the mum and dad if they don't buy them the latest smartphone. You know, but
that's going on now.
But those sort of things, it's when we've then got to sort of remind the parent that these sort of allegations, you need to then say to that son or daughter, fill your boots. Go on then. Go and waste the time of the police or the social services by making that false allegation, because I'm ready for it, because I'm the parent, and you would have to listen to what I'm saying to you. And then I'm not saying, it's important to tell people, it doesn't mean that they won't be visited by the police or they won't be visited by social services, because we, the police, have to do an element of reaction to reports that come in. But hopefully we will see the wood through the trees, and we will gather the evidence and see that it's a load of hopefully rubbish, and then we will be able to then help and sort of say, I don't know what your son's doing, and then that may well be able to trigger a referral to other support for either the family or for the young person in question. You with me?
Yeah. Last question before we go for a quick break. He's a good friend of ours on here. We won't mention his name, but he's a youth worker, and he's put down, due to funding cuts, council is going to get rid of a lot of centres. What funding pots can council or community groups tap into?
I don't, but I know that sometimes our police and crime commissioner has a pot of money, and I would sort of direct people to have a look on his website to see what funding is available from his side, because they sometimes allocate certain funding streams for local stuff that if it does divert people away from criminality. So that's one option, but any more than that I would have to say go to the local city council and on their relation to sort of funding streams that might be available.
Well, I'd say, what you touched on it earlier actually, around here there's a lot of businesses, some very large businesses, and their headquarters are based here as well.
Yeah.
So they're part of the community. They've been here for a very long time. I don't know, they might be doing it already, but what are they doing to help where they're actually based? Because again, the profits they're retaining, the people they've got workers for are from the community. I mean, I know projects have worked before where a lot of the funding have come from the businesses that are locally, and then the community have stepped forward. There's certain leaders that have stepped forward, including the youth. As you already said, that's so important to have them on some kind of committee of how we're going to make this work. So the ideas are fresh, but a lot of the money comes from the community. So whether it be the mosques, whether it be the businesses, whether it be some central point, and then the council, you go to the council, and as you said, well, we've got 50% of the funding here. We've done this. We've researched the idea. We've got a committee which includes this. This is what we'd like to do. Much harder for the council to then turn around and say, no, we can't do anything with that.
Exactly, because you've already done half the work.
You've done half the work.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also they can turn around and say, well, actually, instead of us just making a building that's not used and wasting a lot of money, this is a great idea. And so we're pushing them, and they can go for grants. There's lots of national grants that we can tap into. The big local down at the St Matthews, they're building the new pitches on the St Matthews. Yeah. Well, if there's no money, how are they building that for the use? Of course, there's money, but you have to have people willing to stand up and do something about it.
Yeah, we'll take a little short break, if that's okay. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
क्या हमने कभी अपना किरदार संवारा है क्या हमने कभी अपना किरदार संवारा है क्या हमने कभी अपना किरदार संवारा है कुरान हमारा था कुरान हमारा है कुरान हमारा है कुरान हमारा है कुरान है कुरान हमारा है खत्म रसूल ये भी एहसान तुम्हारा है कुरान हमारा था कुरान हमारा है कुरान हमारा है अल्लाह 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 जिस रोज से भटके हैं हम राह शरीयत से जिस रोज से भटके हैं जिस रोज से भटके हैं हम राह शरीयत से जिस रोज से भटके हैं हम राह शरीयत से हर सिमत जमाने में जासूस नजारा है हर सिमत जमाने में जासूस नजारा है हर सिमत जमाने में जासूस नजारा है कुरान हमारा था कुरान हमारा है कुरान हमारा सब मिलकर कहे वो जो अफगानिस्तान में बैठे ना वो भी कहे कुरान हमारा था कुरान हमारा है कुरान हमारा है ए खत्म रसूल ये भी एहसान तुम्हारा है कुरान हमारा था कुरान हमारा है कुरान हमारा है अल्लाह 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 खत्म रसूल ये भी एहसान तुम्हारा है कुरान हमारा था قرآن ہمارا ہے. آخر شعر میں شاعر کہتا ہے میرے نبی کی شان بیان کرتا شاعر اعمال بھی کچھ اپنے کام آئیں گے محشر میں اعمال بھی کچھ اپنے کام آئیں گے محشر میں اعمال بھی کچھ اپنے کام آئیں گے محشر میں رحمت بھی مگر ان کی آسی کا سہارا ہے رحمت بھی مگر ان کی رحمت بھی مگر ان کی آسی کا سہارا ہے بلکہ میں یوں کہوں گا رحمت بھی مگر ان کی ہم سب کا سہارا ہے رحمت بھی مگر ان کی ہم سب کا سہارا ہے قرآن ہمارا تھا قرآن ہمارا ہے قرآن ہمارا ہے اللہ 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 اے ختم رسول یہ بھی احسان تمہارا ہے قرآن ہمارا تھا قرآن ہمارا ایک دفعہ دائیں بائیں آگے پیچھے سب مل کر کے قرآن ہمارا تھا قرآن ہمارا ہے قرآن ہمارا تھا قرآن ہمارا ہے 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 اے ختم رسول یہ بھی اے ختم رسول یہ بھی اے میرے نبی یہ بھی اے پیارے نبی یہ بھی اے میرے نبی یہ بھی اے پیارے نبی یہ بھی احسان تمہارا ہے قرآن ہمارا تھا قرآن ہمارا ہے قرآن ہمارا ہے آگے دیکھو اللہ 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 ختم رسول یہ بھی احسان تمہارا ہے قرآن ہمارا تھا قرآن ہمارا ہے سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ مل کر کے سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of Allah, of God, be upon you all. A very quick note for everybody. Allah says in the Quran, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ Do they not reflect upon the Quran, or are there locks on their hearts? If we reflect upon the verse that tells us to reflect upon the Quran, we may conclude that the more we contemplate, meditate, and discover and analyze and search for the gems in the Quranic verses, the more our hearts will become unlocked to receive the mercy, guidance, and divine love. Because brothers and sisters and friends, the Quran is an ocean, and we must do tadabbur, reflection and pondering upon this book as Allah tells us. And the more we ponder, we take an ayah, we take a verse, and we find out, what does it mean for me? What does Allah want me to do concerning this verse? How does it affect my spiritual and social DNA? How am I supposed to act and live and behave? How am I supposed to be? Meaning, what kind of state should I be in? So I want to encourage all the brothers and sisters and friends to really engage with the Quran from this perspective, because the Quran wants to be engaged with. Because the Quran was sent down for the whole of humanity, and human beings are thinking human beings. So Allah, the divine reality, the Lord of everything that exists, is telling us, engage with His word, with His eternal word. And I believe if we engage with it and we ponder upon it, we can really find solutions for all of life, but particularly our spiritual life and for our moral and ethical lives. And I just want to give you an example. I want you to go to chapter 12 of the Quran. It has become my favorite chapter. But this is the beauty of the Quran. Every time you understand a chapter, that becomes your favorite chapter. So I've done some work concerning the 12th chapter in the Quran, and I find it so fascinating. Even Allah, God says, is the greatest story. So in this greatest story, I want you to read this story and find out, why did Jacob alayhi salam, why was he suffering and in distress? Well, we know he was suffering and in distress because Yusuf, his beloved son, alayhi salam, Joseph, upon whom be peace, Binyamin, his other little son, was also missing. And he was in distress, where he says in the chapter 12 verse 86, I only complain of my suffering and grief to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you do not know. So from the perspective of a state of being, so say we're depressed sometimes in life and we're really upset, or we don't know where we're going, and we have this kind of existential crisis. Who are we? Whose are we? What are we? Why are we? All these questions we can't really answer properly. We haven't really reflected upon those questions properly, because we all need reminders. So we can be in a state of suffering and grief. So Yusuf alayhi salam, rather Yaqub alayhi salam, the father of Yusuf alayhi salam and Binyamin, he's saying he's suffering and he's in grief. But look at his solution, or look what he does. And he says, I only complain of my suffering and grief to Allah. That's number one. When we go to the next verse, verse 87, he now advises his sons, because he had another 10 sons, to go and find out about Joseph and Binyamin, his brother. And look what Yaqub alayhi salam says. He says, and despair not of the life-giving mercy, Rawhillah, the life-giving mercy of God, of Allah. For indeed, the one who despairs of the life-giving mercy of God is the one who actively rejects the truth. So there are some lessons here. It's teaching us how to deal with grief and distress and depression. Because Yaqub alayhi salam, Jacob, upon whom be peace, he wasn't the one in genuine distress and grief because he loved Joseph so much, he loved Binyamin so much, and he was really, really, really distressed. But look what he does. He says, I complain only to Allah. So that's the first point of call when you're distressed and you're in grief. Complain to Allah. The second piece of advice, which is quite significant, is in the advice he gives to his sons. And he says, and despair not of the life-giving mercy of Allah, for whoever despairs of his mercy is the one who is in an active state of disbelief, who rejects the truth. So it means the one who is in grief and distress and depressed, a solution out of this grief and depression is to sincerely advise others and remind others of the mercy of Allah. Yaqub alayhi salam was the one in distress and grief, but he advised his sons sincerely, and he told them about Allah's mercy, His compassion, His love. So the way to get out of this grief and distress is actually to do that. Advise others sincerely and remind them of the mercy of Allah. And it's no wonder many of the counselors or psychotherapists, they were actually depressed and they got into the job just to help themselves, because advising others actually helps you. So keep on reflecting upon the Quran, brothers and sisters. If you do feel a bit distressed, a bit in grief, rely on Allah, refer to Allah, complain to Allah alone, because He's the only one who can change the situation. Number 2, sincerely advise others. Number 3, remind others sincerely of the life-giving mercy.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. لا أقسم بهذا البلد. لا أقسم بهذا البلد. وأنت حل بهذا البلد. وأنت حل بهذا البلد. ووالد وما ولد. ووالد وما ولد. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد.
أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد
أيحسب أن لن يقدر عليه أحد
يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا
يقول أهلكت مالا لبدا
أيحسب أن لم يره أحد
أيحسب أن لم يره أحد
ألم نجعل له عينين
ألم نجعل له عينين
ولسانا وشفتين
ولسانا وشفتين
وهديناه النجدين
وهديناه النجدين
فلاقتحم العقبة
فلاقتحم العقبة
وما أدراك ما العقبة
وما أدراك ما العقبة
فك رقبة
فك رقبة
أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة
أو إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة
يتيما ذا مقربة
يتيما ذا مقربة
أو مسكينا ذا متربة
أو مسكينا ذا متربة
ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة
ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة
أولئك أصحاب الميمنة
أولئك أصحاب الميمنة
والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة
والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة
عليهم نار مؤصدة
عليهم نار مؤصدة
Al-Muhsi, the one who records. The recitation of this beautiful name of Allah 20 times daily and blowing on 20 pieces of bread will cause Allah to make the entire creation subservient to the reciter, inshallah.
Now let me talk to you about something very important I was thinking about earlier today, my dear brothers and sisters. I was thinking, why is the shaitan working so hard to get us further away from our parents? Because, very simply put, because he understands that this is the greatest relationship that we can have after the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that, the shaitan works on various entrances. I came up with 5 main entrances based from our real life experiences, based on brothers and sisters who've sent me messages in the past few months, based on my own personal experiences and experiences that are read in books of the Salaf and in current times also. They're really called entrances of the shaitan, but in reality, I think they're called lies of the shaitan, fabrications of the shaitan, things that the shaitan tries to put in our mind and inside of our hearts to tell us that there's a problem between us and our parents. When in reality, maybe it's just a small misunderstanding. Let's take a look at these examples, okay? The first big excuse, or the first big entrance, or the first big lie, or the first big fabrication, or the first big myth, whatever you want to call it, is my parents don't love me. My parents don't love me. What do you mean your parents don't love you? Are you kidding yourself or are you being serious? No, really, my parents don't love me. Look at everything they do. They keep on yelling at me all the time. They ground me all the time. They keep on telling me that I'm really bad at school and I'm going to be a failure and all of these things. Well, let me tell you this.
I'm not going to tell you the thing that everyone says, which is they're doing that, they're saying these things because they love you. I'm going to tell you there's a small misunderstanding here. And that misunderstanding is that maybe they're not able to communicate their love to you in the best way and in the best form possible. So there is a blame on them, but there's also a blame on you. Believe me, my dear brothers and sisters, I don't know of any parent who is alive, especially if they're Muslim, who doesn't love their child. And believe me, my dear brothers and sisters, especially my young brothers and sisters, you will not, and I'm sure you heard this from your parents many times, but it is true. It is true. You will not realize the true responsibility and the true love of a parent until you experience it for yourself. No matter how much I tell you, no matter how much your parents tell you, no matter how much you read in books, no matter how many YouTube videos you watch about the subject, this is something that you will never fully realize. Maybe you'll get a few tips here and there, but something that you will never fully realize until you experience it for yourself. So please, know that this is from the shaitan. What do you mean my parents don't love me? All of our parents love us. Maybe each of them has his or her special way of love. Maybe it's not really the best technique all the time, but don't ever doubt that your mom loves you, that your dad loves you, because that is one of the entrances and the main entrance of the shaitan to try to break you apart from your parents. Now, the second thing is something very important, which is no matter how much good that I do, my parents are never going to be happy with me. No matter how much good that I do, my parents are not going to be happy with me. If I get a B at school, they're going to always ask for an A. If I get an A, they're going to say, why didn't you get an A+? If I get a 99%, they're going to say, why did your friend get 100% and you didn't get 100%, you only got 99%? We all experience these similar things. If I take out the garbage one day, they're going to tell me, why didn't you clean your room? A fact of life is our parents always want us to become better people. And they want us to see us perfect. Okay? Obviously, their perfection is motivated by their love, again, for us, but it may not be always true. So again, another miscommunication, another entrance of the shaitan. Don't take the words of your parents too literally. Okay? If they say you're a failure, you don't know what you're doing, you're never going to be successful, you know what? Just take it in and keep it as part of your patience. Because believe me, any great thing that will get you to Jannah is going to require patience. And believe me, it's not going to be easy. And the same thing goes for brothers and sisters. I was talking to the younger brothers and sisters. Now talking to older brothers and sisters. When your mom, calls you from overseas and says, you're a very bad daughter, you're a very bad child, I raised you all these years and you're not being good to me. And even maybe you're calling them on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. You haven't visited me in such and such time. And maybe your mom doesn't understand that you're a mother of 3 children right now and these children are in school and you're not able to leave the country that you're in to go visit her. Be patient. Be patient and don't let the shaitan get in the relationship. And then, you know what the shaitan does? Oh, my parents are never going to be happy with anything that I do, no matter how much I do, so I'm not going to do anything. And I'm going to mess up my relationship with my parents. That's what the shaitan does. So the first one, as we said, my parents don't love me, a big lie from the shaitan. The second thing is no matter how much good that I do, my parents will never be happy. Okay? That's another lie from the shaitan. Let's look at the third thing. The third thing, my dear brothers and sisters, is the things that I do, that I may be able to do to my parents, are so small that they're not going to matter to them anyway. What do I mean by that? I mean, does my dad really care that I pick up the phone and I call him, on a daily basis? I mean, is that really going to make a difference to him? Not really. Is my mom going to really care if I send her a picture of my kids on Facebook? She's not. Who cares? Is my mom going to really be happy or really care? Such a small thing, if I take the garbage out today or if I make her breakfast while she's in bed or something like that, or if I clean my own room. She's not going to be, it's not going to make a big difference. Well, you know what? It is. Because the small things that you do are so big in the eyes of your parents. No matter how young you are again, or no matter how old you are. The things that you do, the things that you think are so small, they're so big in the eyes of your parents. Of course, the good things. And the shaitan is the one that makes them small in your eyes so that you don't do them, so that you don't establish a firm and a beautiful relationship with your parents. And the shaitan is doing that because he knows if you're able to get this door open, the door between you and your parents, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, you are on the straight path to Jannah. SubhanAllah, something so small in your eyes, but in the eyes of that dad, there's something so big. His son went to his house one day, and he made, small food for him. Maybe he made breakfast. I don't know what he was making. Maybe he was just making eggs or something like that. And he sat with his dad on the floor, and they ate together. Who cares about that? Your parents care. Most days today, my dear brothers and sisters, we're taking our lunch and we're going to our own room. You're eating by yourself. Your sister is eating by herself. Your dad is eating by herself because he comes late. Your mother is not even eating at all because she's worried about feeding everyone else. SubhanAllah. We need to bring the family back together. And you as a son and you as a daughter need to take a leading role and worry and take care of these small things. Maybe they're small in your eyes. The shaitan is making them small in your eyes, but they're so huge in your parents' eyes. You send a text message to your mom and you tell her, I love you. It can be so great in her heart and could be, who knows, wallahi, my dear brothers and sisters, it could be the reason that you enter Jannah. And I'm responsible for what I'm saying. It could be the reason that you enter Jannah.
Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Radio Munadil Islam. We're back on air with the Leicestershire Constabulary, and I think we're going to be talking about bullying. Is that correct, officers?
Yes, indeed. Bullying is going to be the topic for the next 20 minutes or so.
Do you think kids think bullying is cool to bully somebody, or do you think they're looking out for attention or seeking attention, or they want to be...
I honestly do believe that it's about just surviving for a lot of people. So they believe in themselves that if I don't bully, then I will become the bullied. So a lot of bullies have probably been there, they've been bullied themselves, they've been a victim, and as a result of that, they've decided, no, this is not going to happen to me again, I know I'm now going to become the bully. Maybe a conscious decision or unconscious, I don't know. But then there are the few examples that I can think of off the top of my head where we've had bullies that have come forward and admitted that they are and they want help. So, they've admitted the fact that what they've done is wrong and they're actually seeking help and guidance around that. So a lot of it isn't actually about showmanship or, this, that and the other. It's actually about initially just trying to protect themselves.
Because it's not just about bullying at school or bullying somebody in person. There's a lot of new craze now is social media, cyberbullying. Yeah. Do you think that's on the increase?
Massively, yeah. Unfortunately, there's quite a few things in the media recently with people that have been victims, and obviously it's had such an effect that all day long they're getting bullied. They wake up, they're thinking about what's going to happen at school. They go to school or go to work. They go in the daytime, being bullied, and then afterwards they go home, they switch their phones on, or they look on the internet and look, I'm being bullied again. It never ends.
It doesn't stop, does it?
It doesn't stop. If they go to sleep, they perhaps won't even sleep properly. They'll be dreaming about it, they think about it. The next day they wake up and it's there. This goes on every day, every week, every month, perhaps for years. Eventually, when someone's told about it, it can be sometimes it's too late. And unfortunately, we've had some examples of that recently.
We have, haven't we?
Where people have, where people have taken their lives as a result of it. So it's had such a massive impact. But what we're talking about earlier on the show is, again, if we can communicate and reach out to the young folk and understand where they are, they have the confidence to stand up, or if they're watching someone being bullied, to stand up or seek help. Tell someone.
Is there help out there for kids as well as parents?
Yes, there is. I mean, I'm just, as you two are talking, just by putting in anti-bullying on the search engine on the internet, there are that many little sites on there that give guidance in relation to bullying and helplines. So there is a wealth of information out there, and I've done 2 talks this week at a local private junior school in relation to it. It's this week's anti-bullying week.
That's correct.
So I did 2 sessions this week, and we were talking about bullying with different sort of age groups of children, and I was giving them basic sort of coping sort of ideas or strategies of how to try and best deal with bullying. And online, there's lots of the same information that I gave out available for parents. So I would signpost parents to have a look online and look at different sort of ideas or strategies to how to talk to your kids in relation to giving them advice and guidance. I think the important thing is talking and listening, because you've got to understand what the problem is first to be able to understand how to deal with it. And then it's about sharing. So once you've shared that information, it's about then giving them ideas of how then to cope with it. And we were talking about cyberbullying, which, like Des has just said, can be constant. And it's not just then in the playground. It can be once you've gone back home, you're at home, and you would think, arriving home at say 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Try and switch off,
you think you'll be safe.
Yeah.
But you switch on your smartphone or you switch on your computer, and all of a sudden you get the messages either from some social media site or online game, and it's there, it's constant. But there are ways that you, as an individual, can try and combat that by, cancelling out, blocking friends. Well, we say friends, blocking the bullies. And taking those people out from your connection, your list. That can be difficult because we fully recognise bullies will use third parties.
Yeah.
To also influence or bully you as well. So you almost have to strip down your, say, network rather than friendships, your network of individuals on, say, social media, and really go back to the basics of people that you can trust, and then start again. I'm not saying that social media is going to be an evil thing, because it's not. It's a fantastic tool, and it's got to be
in the right way.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic tool. And when you think today about what people have access to on the internet for education, it's so much better than what I can remember back in. Obviously, we didn't have really computers with internet. It was it was a BBC computer or Atari, a Commodore thing. So it didn't really have the capabilities that we have today.
You're showing your age.
I am showing my age. Thankfully, I'm sharing a similar sort of age between, apart from the young lad in front of me. But I mean, obviously, there's things that we can do, and sometimes the victim of the bullying doesn't have the confidence to do those basic things. So hopefully, by sharing with parents, with teachers, with a friend that you can trust, and that's important as well.
True.
Because sometimes if you share with the wrong person, then we can have a situation where you think that person was your friend, but they could, in actual fact, be working with the bully.
Yeah, true.
Because this powerful bully may have quite a connection or infrastructure. It can be quite clever in relation to how it's built up, this power network. This information can get fed back to the bully, and they can be quite clever in how they then twist and turn it to make them have that power again. So you have to be careful about who you confide in. Pick and choose your people correctly in relation to who you're going to confide in, but you do need to share. Once you've shared, then people can help you. And I think that's the important thing, is to share, talk, and parents to be listening, and then looking and educating themselves.
And that's not just talking to parents. Speak to your school if you want to.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's one of the places where it normally starts from. It's normally school.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Especially with kids.
Yeah.
It normally starts off with the school, then it just carries on after that.
It does.
But, parents, children, if you're out there, get in touch with the school if you have got concern. Talk to your child. The police are always going to be here. But start off with the normal route, like you say, start off with the school, approach the school. Because, I don't think any school wants to take this matter lightly, because at the end of the day,
they don't.
Especially like you said, with the recent what's happened, and even that child that's just recently happened, we don't want to upset anybody, but it is on the increase. We thought it'd gone down, but now it's all of a sudden, because of social media, it's come back up again.
Yeah, I think it's also important to sort of talk about the fact that bullying is something that we have to educate ourselves about, and we have to experience it to understand it. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't expect or even wish that there will be a school or be an environment where there won't be a bully or being bullied. Because thankfully, when we're at school, we learn things about not hitting people, not swearing at somebody, not pushing them, tripping them up, not stealing from them. And that we're in that safe environment of a school and education. And education is lots of different topics, not just your reading, writing, maths, etc., but it's about life skills, citizenship, and it's about that. So I think it's important to stress to parents to not. There will be that element of your son or your daughter might be the bully, but that's not to be overly alarmed and think, oh my goodness, what's gone on? What am I, a terrible parent? We as human beings will test the boundaries to see what we shouldn't or should do as a human being. So I think these things are to be expected. You with me?
Yeah.
And all these things we just got to develop and move on, and hopefully we will get the right guidance to make sure that we change our behaviour, whether we're a bully or we change our coping strategies, or whether we're a victim. Because I know in the past, we were talking about it before we started this topic in the other room, about sometimes the victim can often try and go over to the side of the bully and end up being a supporter. And then you end up then picking somebody else to be a victim, because then you feel, oh, excellent, the heat's off me now. I've sided with the bully. The bully's got even more power, and then the bully picks on or targets somebody else. And that's, you know, we understand that. We know that. We are now educated individuals, and we know that knowledge. We've learned it ourselves. We've seen it. We can see it happen. So that's where we've got to try and educate young people about trying to reduce that impact that's going to be on them. And a lot of the talking and the topics that we were talking about at school this week myself is about the linking in with criminality. And like I said, it's a safe environment at school, but then we make the clear sort of definition that as soon as you leave the school gates, if you then start to get involved in assaulting people, stealing their property, then you're in the realms of criminality. Exactly. So it's, you can't minimise bullying. It's a very important aspect of life, and it's about how we try and guide our young people to try and make them stronger human beings. And we were talking earlier about how you, as young people today, we're given so much more information about how to cope with bullying, that in turn is going to make them a good citizen, and then maybe even a pretty good start at being a parent later on down the years. You know, so it's very important that we tackle it.
You know, when you go down to the school, is there like an age group that you target?
All age groups. So we'll have different sorts of messages from those that are probably, say, 5-year-old to then when we go up to 10, and then even the ones in their teenagers. And obviously for the teens, you're then focusing very much more on cyberbullying, although, you know, youngsters of today of even 5 have got smartphones or access to iPads and computers. So we often talk to them about, because obviously it's not necessarily they've got social media, but they may well be doing some form of online gaming. And even on online gaming, even on some of the sort of child-friendly sites, I mean, thankfully, I know some in the past that have a good sort of monitoring thing. I'm sure they have these fantastic algorithms that they can pick out any words and things of that nature, and it can put a sort of a red flag up to the monitors. But yeah, so we sort of tailor it for different age groups, and then we'll sort of target certain elements as we go through those age ranges, and sort of link in with different aspects of severity and different sort of access to the internet. So like, for example, Facebook, we'd be talking to mainly sort of teenagers, but we will drop it into the younger ones, because even though they, for like social media sites, a lot of the sites will sort of say 13 and upwards. Well, we're not naive to think that those, you know, from sometimes around the age of 10 are not creating their own accounts, you know. And so we're certainly alive to that. We're not naive, and it's about making sure that we're letting parents, or trying to direct parents into finding out about those elements of social media. And we have to always sort of adapt and try and keep up to date with how things are moving on, which can be quite difficult.
Say if there's an organisation, mosque or community centre or youth group that want to get involved with this project that you're doing, is there any way that you can get in touch with yourself or anything like that?
Yeah, no, definitely. They would just link in with us at your local sort of police station, because thankfully in Leicester we're quite fortunate that we have neighbourhood teams that are doing their best to work with schools, colleges, madrasas, mosques, temples, or you name it. We try and link in with different people, and then all they've really got to do is look on our Leicestershire website, and if you put in your postcode of where you're living or where your business is, you will then see a list of police principal officers and police officers that are working in that area. You can send an email, it will go to the station, and then it will be signposted to someone to make contact, and then we can look at doing something. And you know, we don't do really long-winded projects. It'll be just a visit and maybe doing a half-hour session, because for us it's about trying to give as many messages to stop sort of crime prevention, really, and that's what in essence we're talking about, because bullying is an element of sort of criminality in later life.
Like you say, it starts off something really simple where people think where do you draw the line? Is it banter? Is it bullying?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's where you've got to draw the line. You know, everybody. You know, life's about joking.
Of course it is.
Laugh. Do you know what I mean? You can't be all serious about it.
No, you can't.
But it's where you draw the line. It's where banter becomes bullying.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just
for kids, even people at work. People at work get bullied as well, don't they?
They do.
Do you know what I mean? Where banter, okay, you have a little joke, and then all of a sudden it gets personal.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And then you're crossing that borderline, aren't you? At the end of the day,
and that's what I think. I think that we've got to be grown up about this as well, haven't we? And it's about making sure if we bring it to that individual's attention, you know what, that actually offended me.
Yeah.
You know, then it's about having that sort of grown-up adult conversation to say, you know what, I laughed at the time, but then now 2 days later I wanted to talk to you about it because I wasn't really that happy about it. And you may need to use a go-between for that, a third party, to help you have that conversation to say, look, I wasn't quite happy about that. Can we just maybe avoid that sort of way you talk to me in the future? I still want to have a laugh and joke with you, but I don't want that anymore. You know, and that is often the difficulty, is having those conversations. And you're quite right.
Because remember, I think it was about 10 years ago. Do you remember when Beat the Bully, they brought them little bands out, the silicon bands out?
Yeah.
And it was just say no. You know what I mean? And they used to say, look, just say no. You know, stop and tell them to say no. And, you know, sometimes I even say to kids at football, I said, it starts off as fun. Because I don't think anybody's intentionally getting out there to bully somebody, but what starts off as a fun, it gets out of control, and then, like you say, mates tag along, friends tag along, and that's where it gets serious, and they go, oh, you know what, he's an easy pick, he's an easy target, let's get him again.
Yeah.
You know, that's how it starts off, basically, you know, because I don't think anybody wants to do it intentionally. It's just a bit of banter, fun, and they know he's an easy target, and that's where it carries on. That's how they carry it on, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the NSPCC, interestingly, released some data recently around bullying and around people calling up saying they're feeling down about things. And their work is ongoing, obviously, but they do link in with us quite a bit. So if they've got some things that's getting to the point where actually it's out of control, they do feed to us. So anyone that's listening that feels like they need the support, the NSPCC is there is for the child support, but also, you know, we've got Crime Stoppers, we've got lots of different places that you can go anonymously to inform us. So if you're either as a victim or you're a witness and you're witnessing bullying going on, don't just stand by, let it happen. You know, you can have a voice, you can do it quietly, you don't have to be shouting about it at the time. So you can support those victims. So if you're in that environment, you think, I can't quite stand up right now, I don't feel the strength to do that, then you can contact all these different agencies that will then work.
Help is out there.
There's a lot of help out there. It's the courage to say something, though, isn't it? It's that first initial step. Once that ball starts rolling, hopefully the mechanism and everything else will jump in and we'll be able to help people.
No, that's true. It's just one of things, isn't it? It's like you say, generations have changed, times have changed, and we're living in a world of technology now. You know, that's what's. I mean, it's like I always say to kids. I say to my kids, I said, you might be living in the world of technology, but we had a childhood. Do you know, we had friends, and I think I was reading something on the internet a couple of days ago. It was a cafe down in Manchester, and he'd put down, sorry, no Wi-Fi, pretend it's 1995. You know, talk to somebody. And I'm like, yeah, he's right, because like you go to a cafe, bar, restaurant, and 9 out of 10, you know what I mean, they're on the smartphone.
Heads down, play on the phone.
Heads down, and whatever. I'm thinking, you know, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like most things, isn't it? In moderation.
Yeah.
So it's about using it for its benefits, but then recognising when it's probably, you know, when suddenly it becomes antisocial, because clearly people are being sociable when they're picking them up.
Yeah.
It just might not be to the person in front of them. Or even, then I say that, but you could be then texting right to the person next door to you, because that's the fun element. You might be texting a silly picture, a silly quote to your person next to you.
Well, I put my hands up. I did it about a year ago. The wife was in the kitchen, and I'm sitting in the conservatory. Yeah, bring us a cup of tea. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
we do it. Do you know what I mean? We just instead of shouting. She
Yeah.
goes, you can shout it. Could be bothered. Do you know what I mean? But it's little things like that.
It is little things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's good. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You're using it to make it. It's a fun thing, so why not? I mean, but I think the important thing is when it crosses over to that bullying element, because these are fantastic bits of kit.
Oh, of course they are.
You know, and I think many of us would be quite lost, or it would just make life maybe a little bit difficult, or not having that access to be able to look at your bank account online, do certain shopping things, searching for certain things if you want to get yourself a bargain, looking or doing some little bit of research. You want to find out that topic of information. You want to keep up to date.
Get on Uncle Google.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, there's such a wealth of information you've got at the tip of your fingers these days.
Oh, it's just phenomenal.
But then also, there's advice on there as well.
Of course it is.
So when you've got these things that are happening to you, then you don't really have to go very far to try and do what's right
for
you.
True.
And sometimes people sometimes people they can't see the wood for the trees in relation to the advice, and sometimes they might well have got themselves down a one-way road, and they can't get the reverse gear to come back out of it. And sometimes that does happen, whereby, for example, people share things on social media which they shouldn't have shared, and then it's about an element of what we're talking about saying there is like blackmail, where people then say, "Well, I want you to do this now, so I'm going to share X, Y, and Z."
Yeah.
And I think it's very important then for the individual that they've got to make a stand at some point.
Of course they do.
Because what are they going to allow themselves to be manipulated into doing? And it might be uncomfortable, but you've got to start somewhere.
Of course you do.
But and it's about how far does that individual go before they make that decision. Obviously, we want them to make that decision earlier on because it's a lot easier to deal with.
Of course it is.
I think it's time for us to get off there now.
Is there anything, last messages that you guys want to say?
No, not really. It's just thank you. Thank Radio Munadil for inviting us.
Thank you for coming down. Thank you for coming down as well.
Wish you every success with the
Thank you
academy.
very much. I'll probably see you around. I'll probably see you guys around somewhere anyway. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much.
No, thank you as well.
ذکر ہے उसका बसती बसती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ذکر ہے उसका बसती बसती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम गूंज रही है महफिल हस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम गूंज रही है महफिल हस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ذکر ہے उसका बसती बसती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम उसके अमल ने शिरक मिटाया एक खुदा का रंग जमाया उसके अमल ने शिरक मिटाया एक खुदा का रंग जमाया खत्म हुई असनाम परस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम खत्म हुई असनाम परस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम गूंज रही है महफिल हस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम क्या कहना मेराज की शब का देख के रुतबा शाह अरब का क्या कहना मेराज की शब का देख के रुतबा शाह अरब का चरख ने भी महसूस की पसती चरख ने भी महसूस की पसती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम चरख ने भी महसूस की पसती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम गूंज रही है महफिल हस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम बेशक उसकी शान है ऊंची प्यार से हक ने जिसको अता की बेशक उसकी शान है ऊंची प्यार से हक ने जिसको अता की कुल नबियों पर बाला दस्ती कुल नबियों पर बाला दस्ती सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम کل نبیوں پر بالا دستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم دے کر دنیا بھر کی دولت مل جائے گر اس کی محبت دے کر دنیا بھر کی دولت مل جائے گر اس کی محبت پھر بھی یہ نعمت ہے سستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم پھر بھی یہ نعمت ہے سستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم عشق نبی میں اہل وفا نے لوٹے کیسے کیسے خزانے عشق نبی میں اہل وفا نے لوٹے کیسے کیسے خزانے کیف سرور و جود و مستی کیف سرور و جود و مستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کیف سرور و جود و مستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم اس کا جلوہ دیکھ جو پاتا قلب حزی پھولا نہ سماتا اس کا جلوہ دیکھ جو پاتا قلب حزی پھولا نہ سماتا چشم عقیدت یوں نہ ترستی چشم عقیدت یوں نہ ترستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم چشم عقیدت یوں نہ ترستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نفیس ہے عاجز اس کی ثنا سے کاش قوانی کام کے ہوتے نفیس ہے عاجز اس کی ثنا سے کاش قوانی کام کے ہوتے نعت کی بدلی کھل کے برستی نعت کی بدلی کھل کے برستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نعت کی بدلی کھل کے برستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم ذکر ہے اس کا بستی بستی ذکر ہے اس کا بستی بستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم ذکر ہے اس کا بستی بستی گونج رہی ہے محفل ہستی सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम 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 आलम तेरा दीवाना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना मूसा भी हुए बेखुद मूसा भी हुए बेखुद पी कर तेरा पैमाना आलम तेरा दीवाना है जलवाए जाना ना आँखों में नहीं ताकत जो देख सके तुझको आँखों में नहीं ताकत जो देख सके तुझको वरना तेरे जलवों से वरना तेरे जलवों से आबाद है काशाना वरना तेरे जलवों से वरना तेरे जलवों से आबाद है काशाना आलम तेरा दीवाना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना मूसा भी हुए बेखुद मूसा भी हुए बेखुद पी कर तेरा पैमाना आलम तेरा दीवाना है जलवाए जाना ना जर्रों की चमक तुझसे फूलों की महक तुझसे जर्रों की चमक तुझसे फूलों की महक तुझसे तू हाजिर नाजिर है तू हाजिर नाजिर है गुलशन हो के वीराना तू हाजिर नाजिर है गुलशन हो के वीराना आलम तेरा दीवाना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना मूसा भी हुए बेखुद मूसा भी हुए बेखुद पी कर तेरा पैमाना आलम तेरा दीवाना है जलवाए जाना ना हर किस्म इबादत की लाजिम है फकत तेरी हर किस्म इबादत की लाजिम है फकत तेरी सजदा हो के कुर्बानी सजदा हो के कुर्बानी मन्नत हो के नजराना सजदा हो के कुर्बानी सजदा हो के कुर्बानी मन्नत हो के नजराना आलम तेरा दीवाना आलम तेरा दीवाना ऐ जलवाए जाना ना عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا موسیٰ بھی ہوئے بے خود موسیٰ بھی ہوئے بے خود پی کر تیرا پیمانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا تو نے ہی محمد کو بخشی ہے مسیحائی تو نے ہی محمد کو بخشی ہے مسیحائی تیری ہی نوازش ہے تیری ہی نوازش ہے طیبہ کا شفا خانہ تیری ہی نوازش ہے تیری ہی نوازش ہے طیبہ کا شفا خانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا موسیٰ بھی ہوئے بے خود موسیٰ بھی ہوئے بے خود پی کر تیرا پیمانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا دانش کو بچایا رب در در کی غلامی سے دانش کو بچایا رب در در کی غلامی سے یہ بندہ عاجز ہے یہ بندہ عاجز ہے توحید کا دیوانہ یہ بندہ عاجز ہے یہ بندہ عاجز ہے توحید کا دیوانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا موسیٰ بھی ہوئے بے خود موسیٰ بھی ہوئے بے خود پی کر تیرا پیمانہ عالم تیرا دیوانہ اے جلوے جانانا
يا بهجة الأكوان هذه فرحة يا بهجة الأكوان هذه فرحة كبرى تزاحم قلبي الولهان آباء سعيد عانقت ومسامعي فغدوت طيرا أنسود الألحان بفرحتك فراشة وردية في ظل سهر تعرف الرائحان أهديتها للقلب يا فوزية وبكل خطر أنثر الألوان يا غنواتي عقد القران مبارك حتما تفافك يسعد الخلان يوم الزفاف أدخلها حورية طرف خجول بالحياء ازدانا يا زوجها فوز إليك أمانة خذها برفق والزم الإحسان الفوز فوزك بالمفازة يا فتى أحسني إليها واكسد الرضوان والعروس لخير حلم أتت وتبسم ولتمسح الأحزان يا ربي جمل بالسعادة وقتهم وفق إلهي بارك الأزمان
We were given so many prizes. We changed the desert into oasis. We built buildings of different lengths and sizes. And we felt so very satisfied. We bought and couldn't stop buying. We gave charity to the poor cause we couldn't stand it crying. We thought we paid our dues, but in fact, to ourselves we're just lying. Oh, I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact our focus should be on ourselves. I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact our focus should be on ourselves. We were told what to buy and we bought. We went to London, Paris and Costa del Sol. We made sure we were seen in the most exclusive shops. Yes, we felt so very satisfied. We felt our money gave us infinite power. We forgot to teach our children about history and honor. We didn't have any time to lose when we were so busy feeling so satisfied. I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact our focus should be on ourselves. I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact our focus should be on ourselves. We became individuals without a soul. Despite the heat, our homes felt so empty and cold. To fill the emptiness we bought and bought, maybe all the fancy cars and bling will make us feel satisfied. My dear brother and sister, it's time to change inside. Open your eyes, don't throw away what's right aside, before the day comes when there's nowhere to run and hide. Now ask yourself, cause Allah's watching you. Is it satisfied? Is Allah satisfied? Is Allah satisfied? Is Allah satisfied? Oh, I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact our focus should be on ourselves. I'm walking with my head lowered in shame for my place. I'm walking with my head lowered for my race. Yes, it's easy to blame everything on the West, when in fact our focus should be on ourselves. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم سلم نبيا ورسولا. في حماك ربي غايتي رضاك والقلب في يقين يحيا على هداك ذو الجلال في علاه ما لنا سواه هو واهب الحياة فلنبتغي رضاه القادر الحليم الغافر الرحيم إن قال كن يكن سبحانه العظيم رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا ديننا حياة ديننا عطاء والكون من ضياء يستلهم الصفاء ربنا ارتضاه لنا كامل تمام قد جاء بالسلام والخير للأنام وأنا به رضيت وبنوره هديت سأظل ما حييت أقول في دعائي رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا صلوا على النبي 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 رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا
من المهوى المجرية هباء فطار القصيد يحاكي الهوى رياح النجوم وكف الغيوم تنادي ألا من جلا من المهوى المجرية هباء فطار القصيد يحاكي الهوى رياح النجوم وكف الغيوم تنادي ألا من جلا فشر يحاك لكم أمتي يريد الفناء ورب السماء فيا أمتي أمسكوا واسمعوا فجل الأمور بادت في خفاء قنابلهم كالسموم تداء فما من صدوق وما من إخاء
بني حصاد الرصاص أتاه فما من مضيف ولا من عزاء أبي يا رحيم كشربة ماء طعمت فطوبى ولا من شقاء وأمي يا أمي كفاك بكاء فدينك يعلو وكل هرى وعرض استبيحا وما من رجاء سوى بإلهي مجيب الدعاء رضيعي تمزق صوت الإباء فكل يردد صوت الغناء وليلى تصيح بكم دناس كراماتكم أيها الأغبياء لساني سليم وقلبي كليم وعيني صارت كفي السقاء أئن طويلا وما من دواء فقومي صاروا كما الببغاء لساني سليم وقلبي كليم وعيني صارت كفي السقاء أئن طويلا وما من دواء فقومي صاروا كما الببغاء فهل حلول تعين السليبا وأين السهود وأين الإباء ونحن ننام كأهل الرقيب وفي غفلة قد يحل البلاء وأرجو الإله يزيل العناء ويرسل جندا كديب السماء يعلو الكتاب ويخفو سواه وينصر جندا ألح الدعاء يعلو الكتاب ويخفو سواه وينصر جندا ألح الدعاء ألح الدعاء
ربنا يا ربنا 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 ربنا یا ربنا یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو جب برے مشکل شہ مشکل کشا کا ساتھ ہو جب برے مشکل شہ مشکل کشا کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا یا الہی بھول جاؤ نزع کی تکلیف کو یا الہی بھول جاؤ نزع کی تکلیف کو شادی دیدار حسن مصطفیٰ کا ساتھ ہو شادی دیدار حسن مصطفیٰ کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا یا الہی نام اعمال جب کھلنے لگے یا الہی نام اعمال جب کھلنے لگے عیب پوش خلق ستار خطا کا ساتھ ہو عیب پوش خلق ستار خطا کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا یا الہی گرمی محشر سے جبر کے بدن یا الہی گرمی محشر سے جبر کے بدن دامن محبوب کی ٹھنڈی ہوا کا ساتھ ہو دامن محبوب کی ٹھنڈی ہوا کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا ربنا يا ربنا یا الہی جب زبان باہر آئے پیاس سے یا الہی جب زبان باہر آئے پیاس سے صاحب کوثر شہ جود و عطا کا ساتھ ہو صاحب کوثر شہ جود و عطا کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا 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 یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو یا الہی ہر جگہ تیری عطا کا ساتھ ہو جب برے مشکل شہ مشکل کشا کا ساتھ ہو جب برے مشکل شہ مشکل کشا کا ساتھ ہو ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا انبیاء کا امام آ گیا انبیاء کا امام آ گیا نیک فیضان دار السلام آ گیا نیک فیضان دار السلام آ گیا تیرے در پر جو خیر الانام آ گیا تیرے در پر جو خیر الانام آ گیا اس کے ہاتھوں میں عرفاں کا جام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا پا گیا حاصل زندگی پا گیا حاصل زندگی در پہ آقا کے جس دم غلام آ گیا در پہ آقا کے جس دم غلام آ گیا ظلم رخصت ہوا عدل قائم ہوا ظلم رخصت ہوا عدل قائم ہوا عشق کے ہاتھ میں انتظام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا آپ کی مدح انسان کیا کر سکے آپ کی مدح انسان کیا کر سکے عرش سے جب درود و سلام آ گیا عرش سے جب درود و سلام آ گیا دور ظلمت ہوئی دل منور ہوا دور ظلمت ہوئی دل منور ہوا جب مدینے میں ماہ تمام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا سدرۃ المنتہا پر جو پہنچے نبی سدرۃ المنتہا پر جو پہنچے نبی سر جھکا کر کے جبریل کہنے لگے سر جھکا کر کے جبریل کہنے لگے اے حبیب خدا اب سوا آپ کے اے حبیب خدا اب سوا آپ کے اس سے آگے جو جائے گا جل جائے گا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا تیری برکت سے سید المرسلین تیری برکت سے سید المرسلین صبح روشن ہوئی کہ شام آ گیا صبح روشن ہوئی کہ شام آ گیا میں جہانات احمد سنانے لگا میں جہانات احمد سنانے لگا عاشقوں کا وہی اجتہام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا جب زباں پر محمد کا نام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا دوستوں زندگی کا پیام آ گیا تاریخی تاریخی إليك تلتمس وفي الأفراح مساسي حبيس ومن سعدي يظن الناس أني أنا في ليلة العرش